What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben Riccardi from Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and I'm the author of the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. Now, the Restoration Rundown is your source for everything related to managing and owning your restoration business, from bringing on special guests and sharing success stories to taking deep dives with our team here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing into all of the online channels that you need to be tapping into to get visibility for your restoration business and get more leads from the internet. We've got you covered. So buckle up and get ready for the rundown. What is up, everybody? See how fast I shaved? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown. It is 2025, whether you like it or not, believe it or not, whatever the case may be. I'm kind of blown away every day that we're already in January of 2025. I don't know where the time has gone, but I'm super excited today to have you join me because this is the 100th episode of the Restoration Rundown. Cue post-edit applause here. So I'm very excited today. And because it is the 100th episode, we wanted to bring something to the table today that's going to be super valuable for you to give you the most benefit out of paying attention to this episode. It's going to be a long one, but I promise you it's going to be packed with everything that you're going to need to move forward in 2025 to get the best results out of your digital marketing, maybe demystify some things you might have thought in the past, or maybe reaffirm things that you're actually doing right now to make sure that you're on the right track, because things aren't always gardens and roses and happiness. Sometimes things are down, no matter who you're working with or what you're doing. So this is something we do pretty much every year, but this year is a little bit different because we're going to be bringing in some very, very, very special guests to this episode who are all experts in their respective field in digital marketing. And lucky for us here and our clients out there, they just so happen to be some of the key players here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing. So I'm very excited to be bringing them to talk about all these different channels that you should be focusing on when it comes to digital marketing. So I want to dive right into it. Without further ado, for the 100th episode, we're going to be bringing on you the 2025 No BS Internet Marketing Plan for Restoration Contractors. This is a front to back, everything you need to know and what you need to be doing when it comes to digital marketing for your restoration business. So we're going to dive right in. Some of the things we're going to cover today are we're going to talk a little bit about goals, right? It's something that we've had multiple episodes on goal setting. We've had guests in here talking about goals, and goals are great, but we're going to really break down a little teeny bit and skim over what's the most important aspect about having goals, because having goals, everybody has them, but what does it take to achieve those goals? We're going to look into some of the common problems that we're seeing here and what we've seen over the years and the 8 years we've been working in the restoration industry, specifically with digital marketing. What are the common problems that seem to be present no matter what year it is? We're going to talk about the Ironclad Restoration Marketing's digital omnipresence method, kind of how we approach digital marketing for restorers out there. We're going to go back to basics. We're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals. So if you're listening to this, some of this is going to sound a little familiar if you've seen me speak live in person. A lot of this stuff is the same because it's very, very important. And each one of these different things we're going to talk about kind of lend to each other in order to have a bigger picture aspect of marketing. Speaking of speaking, I just real quick plug, I will be speaking live at the Experience in Punta Gorda in April. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing a lot of this, a little bit deeper of a dive into some of these channels. Once we get through the fundamentals of marketing, we're going to take it back and talk about the channels that you need to be focusing on in order to win online. Okay, we're going to be talking about how to get them right. This is going to be the fun part where we bring on our experts here at Ironclad. I'm really excited about that. I don't know if you can tell by my face or my tone of my voice. It's something we've been putting together and everybody's worked really hard on. So before we get going, I do have a couple rules, right? You're probably listening to this in your car. So, maybe pay attention to driving a little bit more than this presentation and kind of maybe revisit some of this stuff if it stands out at you. But if you're sitting in front of a computer, you're watching this live, you're watching a replay on our YouTube or you're on our website, there's a couple things that I want to make sure that you guys are doing. One, it's taking a lot of notes. I speak two ways, a lot and fast. So with packing in this much information in the form of this type of podcast or this type of video, it's kind of difficult. So it's going to be a little bit like drinking out of a fire hose at first. So make sure you're writing down some key points that you hear. Also, this is always going to be made available for you to recap anyways. So if you're not a big note taker, you can play this at half speed.
Maybe it'll sound like I'm talking at a normal speed at that point. You can catch up a little bit here and make sure you're doing everything right. The other thing is I want you to be present, right? If you're driving, again, pay attention to the driving, but try to be present here. I know it's distracting as a business owner to have, your phone ringing off the hook, people messaging you. You're wearing a lot of hats, you're doing a lot of things, but for the purposes of this presentation and how important it is for you to win online, you need to make sure you're mentally here. Shut off the other tabs, take notes, and just be here with me live. For those of you that are new, that are tuning in, I'll do a quick intro, whether you like it or not. My name is Ben Riccardi. As I mentioned in the beginning in the intro, I'm the founder of Ironclad Restoration Marketing. Ironclad Restoration Marketing is a digital marketing agency based out of South Florida. And we are specifically and only specifically work in the restoration industry. I feel like that gives us a little bit of a leg up. It allows us to focus on one industry and become really good at it. I am the author of the No Bullshit Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. That book's available on Amazon, or if you've seen me live, I'm handing them out all the time. It is the new one that's up there is revised as of last year. We're currently working on the new revision because it seems like every time I hit publish on the publishing company, Google updates their algorithm and tactics have to change. So there's a lot of that's gone on since this book was published. So I always tell people the caveat, there is a little bit of bullshit in there, but in general, it's a good guideline for you to kind of make sure that you're on the right track, or make sure there might be something in there that you haven't even thought about. All right. So this is from soup to nuts, pretty much everything that we did in the past, and we do currently do a lot of it to help our clients win online. I host this podcast, right? It's relatively straightforward. The Restoration Rundown podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube or you found us through the website, this is a podcast that's dedicated to the restoration industry. If you haven't heard already, we have guests on and we talk about pretty much everything that it takes to run a restoration business, and that's streaming everywhere. The big ones, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Or basically however you consume that type of content, we're probably there. I am a regular contributor to CNR and R&R, two of the best magazines out there in the industry. I'm sure all of you are familiar with. If you're not, you should get familiar with them because there's so many valuable resources, webinars, podcasts, all these different things for you as a restoration business owner that can benefit you and help you move your business forward to the scalability that it needs. I do have, as I mentioned before, we're about 10 years in digital marketing for restoration contractors. So we do have a little bit of history there when it comes to what it takes to win online. And that goes from everything from web design to SEO, pay-per-click, LSA management, Google Business Profile management, social media, and everything in between when it comes to marketing. So myself and the team here, I'm far from a one-man show, but we have a really great team here. Everybody kind of aligned in the same direction to just deliver the best results for our clients. And I do own and operate a commercial site development company. Listen, my background is not in marketing. I started off in the construction industry, and I currently do run a construction company. So I think the advantage that I have is I'm able to understand a little bit more intimately the ins and outs of getting paid, the ins and outs of just dealing with jobs and getting the jobs, procuring equipment, procuring supplies, mobilizing to different areas like for storm season and catching. I'm currently dealing with that. However, we're not in the disaster restoration. We're in more commercial site development stuff, but there's a lot of parallels between the two. But in general, our company's mission is to, and my personal mission here and why we do what we do is we want to help triple the sales of over 1,000 restoration contractors. We don't want to cap it at that, but we want to slowly tick away and be able to help as many people out there as possible. That's why I started this company. All right. So we're going to kick this off right now. Enough about me, enough about the company. This is about you. This is something that I'd like to ask rhetorically because we've kind of polled everybody, and with the experience that we have here, we talk about what are the most common reasons that your digital marketing efforts are failing. And this would be the point of class where everybody raises their hand and they complain about their marketing agency or whatever they've gone through, or the big ones complaining about Google. But we actually have some real world data that we've pulled from our real world clients, past, present, and hopefully future, to talk about it, right? So the big ones that we see out there and the most common ones that we see are there are so many options when it comes to marketing, right? There's SEO, websites, Google Business Profile, there's email marketing. They're showing up at project managers or property managers' offices with candy and going to insurance agencies. And there's all the ins and outs, boots on the ground type of marketing. There's so many options out there, not to mention the shiny new objects. Every time you go to one of these conventions or trade shows, there's somebody else there with some sort of software that's going to generate all the leads, or you've seen the ads on Facebook of people dressed funny and kind of talking about revolutionizing lead generation and blah, 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 blah. Well, that presents a lot of problems because where do you focus your efforts at, right? And time is money. So in most cases, when it comes to marketing for your business, it's expensive. And the time that you spend to learn those mistakes is even more expensive than that, right? Your manpower, the just wasted time. You need to keep your businesses running, right? A lot of people out there will throw this back on the customer or the business owner. I'm guilty of it myself. Is getting shiny new object syndrome or treating marketing like a magic pill. All right. If you don't have your proper systems in place to onboard, offboard, do the work, procurement, HR, getting paid, you don't have the cash flow coming in consistently, you're really setting up a marketing agency for failure. I don't care if they're the best ones in the world. We don't claim to be the best. We just claim to do the best when it comes to the intent and keeping up with the current algorithm updates and everything that we need to be doing. But you got to be careful not to treat your marketing agency like a magic pill because there is no such thing. So if you're trying to engage a marketing agency or hire a marketer and you're kind of in this crisis mode all the time where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're not getting paid on jobs, you're wearing 75 new hats as a business owner, that's pretty common. It's probably not a good idea to spend any money on that until you get those other things in place, right? So it's a very common problem we see. It's like we get that phone call when they've exhausted all other efforts and somebody just mentioned like, maybe you should be doing this because you're just setting somebody up for failure and you're going to be pretty disappointed with the results. Another big one is you just don't have a goals, right? Everything is kind of unclear, a lack of plans. I mentioned before, as an entrepreneur, a business owner, even a manager, even somebody that's out there as a site superintendent, you are wearing a lot of hats. You have a lot of different tasks that you have to deal with. So marketing typically gets pushed to the wayside or marketing gets blamed for other gaps in your business or other leaks that you may have, right? Another big issue we see is the head in the sand type of business owner, right? And that's the business owner, like the guy on the screen here, that kind of just sets things up and then just kind of lets them go and then puts their head in the sand and maybe just are super good at one aspect of their business and that's all they focus on. Well, whether it's marketing or hiring or procurement or getting paid, if you're a head in the sand type of business owner, nothing's going to work. So you got to pop your head back out, kind of get competent in these areas and really take control of your business by setting clear goals and having a plan. Another big one is mismanage expectations. Now this falls on a couple different blame, right? So sometimes it's the marketing agency that's to blame, right? Everybody in the marketing world, there's a sales part of that, right? And part of the sales process is to bring you on to their business and sell you on their services. And sometimes with certain marketing agencies or even one-man shows, they're going to mismanage your expectations a little bit. They're going to promise, oh, we're going to guarantee this and guarantee that, and this is going to go better. And look what your last agency was doing, and kind of nitpick little things apart that might not even be something that moves the needle. So competency in what you're buying is pretty important when you're dealing with anybody. But you've got to have the right expectations. So a lot of the mismanaged expectations as well. So we'll take some of the blame off the marketing agency and then let's lump it in on the business owner. Is that business owner that's living in crisis mode, that has no history of spending money on digital marketing. They just think they need it. They want to need it. And typically they're in a position where their back's against the wall. They need money now and they're going to engage in a marketing agency. And no matter what we tell them or your marketer tells them as far as timelines, it just right out their ears and out the other, like, we're going to give you this money. We want to win. And within 3 weeks, they're, blowing up emails and you're thinking things are going to light the world on fire. But properly manage expectations is huge. If you're engaging somebody for SEO, you should know before you start talking to anybody that it could take almost a year to really rank healthily in the organic section, right? No matter who's working with you. So that's something that you want to make sure you get a handle of. And the big one, I guess this is true in anything in life, is a lack of consistency. So you may have all the right things going on. You might be doing the right thing on everywhere, but you're constantly switching gears. You've got that shiny new object syndrome. You're, like a dog, you're taking a dog in a park that's full of squirrels, you're bouncing around. You're never going to get consistent and get to the end, right? If you're on a path and you're trying to head a certain direction, which is straight, and every once in a while you stop or you move over here to see if you can hitch a ride with somebody to make it a little bit quicker, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to work, right? If you want to lose weight or, get on a health kick, it's New Year's resolution time. By now, most of the people have already dropped their New Year's resolutions. Not saying I'm guilty of it or not guilty of it. There's neither here nor there. But if you're not consistent with it, you're not going to make it, right? So if you don't have goals, you are unclear about where you need to be, you have mismanaged expectations, your head is in the sand, and you're not consistent, you're not going to win at anything you do. But the beauty is you're here, you're listening to this. that means a lot. That means you're engaged, that you're trying to do better, or you're trying to affirm that you're doing the right thing. So it presents a really nice opportunity for you, because if you can create clear goals, and more so a plan of action. So we're talking about goals a little bit. A goal without a plan is just a wish, right? So if you have a goal and you don't have a plan to achieve that goal, you're not going to achieve it, right? I have a really cool article in R&R and CNR about this. So if you want to reference that, go ahead and check them out. Search Benjamin Riccardi in the search bar, and you can check out my article on goals and goal setting and having that framework in mind here when you are doing anything for your business or even in a personal life. And if you're able to utilize the proper online channels, put your eggs in the right baskets, right? Not all in one, just in the right ones. And it's going to be different for every single business owner. You are going to be able to generate what we call a perpetual pipeline of leads. You're going to have the proper systems in place. Then you're going to get the ROI that you need from your efforts. And then you're able to scale your business and get these really cool gold chains and outfit that I get to wear all the time when I speak at these conventions. If you've ever seen me, this is literally a picture of me the last time I was on stage, guys. So I just shaved a little bit, cut my hair, same necklaces, same gold shirt. You'll see me in Punta Gorda wearing the same getup. It's kind of fun. All right. And part of that article here is, one of the quotes that I like to say a lot is goals are the results that you want to get, right? But without the systems, without having proper systems, without having a plan of action to get you there, they're kind of the catalyst. You're going to be stuck at the starting line, right? So the goal without a plan is a wish. So think about that a little bit. This might be a good time to pause, take a look at this slide, but really think about what your goals are here for 2025, right? Get a little granular with it. Don't just say, oh, I want to get more leads. Oh, I want to hire on 5 more crews. That's great. Those are really good goals to have. But don't you think your competition has those same goals? So what's going to set you aside from those guys? It's going to be either what you're screaming up in the air, what your goals are, or you're going to make a plan of action. You're going to execute that plan. You're going to track and measure all of your success points. You're going to have stopping points weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly to make sure you're on the right track. You can't just set a goal, put systems, stick your head in the sand. Not going to work. All right. So think about things like your projected revenue. Think about your sales goals. And then once you think of those 2 things, you can even get more granular. How many leads are you going to need to do that? What is your close rate? Is a goal of yours to increase your close rate percentage, right? And that's really going to help you kind of divulge the information that you need to really put a clear plan together, right? Then you can build a marketing budget. You can in some cases just throw money at things and it kind of works, but what happens when it stops working, right? If you don't have a goal, you're not tracking everything, you're going to have a hard time, right? So for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to specifically be talking about your goals when it comes to fulfilling your business needs from a revenue standpoint and what that's going to look like and really how that's going to change your life. And I don't mean that to be facetious. Like, when you set the right goals in place and you set your business up with the right people, right plan of action, it'll change your life. Your revenue is going to grow. Your business is going to be more scalable, which is more attractive to people that are buying them up. And you're going to have much more clarity and kind of eliminate a little bit of that chaos mode that you've probably been living in. Okay. So think about what your plan is for next year. All right. So when it comes to digital marketing, this is the strategy behind what we do. And it's kind of a turtles all the way down type of process, right? The old adage of, what is this? And it's a turtle holding up a turtle, and then it's another turtle under that, and it just goes on for infinity. So that's kind of how this looks. So really what you want to do is you want to drive leads to your business, right? And you want to maximize the conversion of those leads into actual jobs, okay? Then you want to take that, and by stepping back and having a plan, you're going to be able to optimize those results a little bit, right? Let's work on the conversion rate. Let's build that up a little bit. A lot of that stuff is internal processes, things as simple as just answering the phone on time, returning calls. That's a big one. Then you're going to track throughout this whole process. You want to track and measure. And then you're going to optimize it even more. So you're constantly chiseling away at this big piece of marble until you get to some place where you're just autonomously getting this leads into your business. You're able to grow. You're able to plan for things that may happen because, listen, there is no magic pill. Digital marketing is a fundamental aspect of growing your business, but sometimes it just doesn't work in certain circumstances, right? There's so many factors in there that determine whether or not you're going to be visible online. You've got to have your ducks in a row and you really need to know what to expect. All right. And then you optimize from then on out. All right. So the first thing that we talk about a lot here at Ironclad is what we call the omnipresence method of digital marketing, or even marketing in general. So you want to be omnipresent, meaning you want your brand to be visible as many places as it possibly can. You never want to stick your eggs into one basket. You want to be omnipresent. Right. So we talk about this quite a bit to dominate the different areas that your target customer is going to be paying attention to. A lot of restorers out there is a great example. They're like Facebook. We want digital, we want social media management. I don't care about SEO, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you're strictly a property restoration contractor that's serving commercial clients, do you think your commercial clients are scrolling on Facebook when they have a large loss or their building gets flooded? They're searching on Facebook for restoration. No, they're probably not. But there is a place for that. You want that visibility there. So ideally, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? The website, SEO, Google Business Profile, pay-per-click, LSA, social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, anywhere that's relevant to the type of customer that you want is where you want to be, right? So you want to maximize those flow. And even part of this is being a member of the industry associations, right? Going to trade shows, engaging your peers in your area. Don't look at your people as competition. Look at them as somebody you can learn from, right? And you're going to get a lot better. Speaking of which, get involved in your community. You can be number one on Google and have a great Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and you're doing TikTok videos and it's all fun and games. But if you're not a member of the RIA, you're not IICRC certified, you've got bigger problems than this. But if you're not there and you're not helping out your local community, you're not like tending that farm, you're not tending where you need to be and really becoming a pillar in your community, you're going to have a hard time. And this just kind of completes that circle, right? So you can dominate online, and then now you're active in your community when at the end of the day, property damage restoration, no matter whether it's commercial or residential, you're there to help people. You're there to build trust and show them that you're going to be here in their time of need. So get involved, right? Don't be afraid to dedicate money and time to these associations, whether they're the national ones or regional ones in your area. You should be involved in those 100%. Okay. So recap a little bit, the omnipresence method is just to be everywhere that your target customer is going to be. And that being said, let's take a little bit of a remedial tour over marketing in general. So basic marketing boils down to 3 areas, okay? You have your market, which is who you're selling to. The message is how you're going to resonate with that person. And then you have your media, is what you're going to do to resonate with that person. So you craft your market, you craft your message based off that market, and then the media is the vehicle that you're going to drive to attract your market to your services. Okay. So a big thing that wasn't in the big problems we have, but it's a problem we see everywhere, is a lot of people, every business out there, not just restorers, but most cases, they don't know who their ideal customer is. And I don't mean they don't know that what they provide as a service. I mean, they really have never given it a thought to see who they want to speak to. Yes, you want to be fire, water, mold, whatever the case may be, whatever services you offer, recon, but who are you trying to sell to? One episode prior to this, I interviewed Rocky from One Tom Plumber. They have one of the best stories when it comes to figuring out who their ideal customer was. And before they made a logo, before they started the business, before they did anything, they spent an ungodly amount of money and time and effort and resources, because that's how important it is, figuring out who it is that they want to sell to. Once they identified who their target demographic was, and in their case, it was housemakers, and in most cases, female, they then crafted their entire brand around that person, who they were, what they're afraid of, and what resonates with them. And that's why they're one of the fastest growing companies out there. And if you're not doing that, don't be afraid. Like if you've had a logo on the side of your truck, I know a lot of people get hung up on their logos and my vehicle's already wrapped. It's okay. You still have an opportunity to figure out who it is that you want to talk to and really drive that message to them and talk to them with your website, with your social media posts, with your Google business posting, with your targeted ads and everything that you do out in the community. Okay. So it's not something that's dire. You need to throw the grenade at your entire brand if you don't know. It's just something you need to be cognizant of, and more so align your entire team to understand who it is you're working with, because every single person that works at your restoration company is a salesperson. They're an extension of your sales force. Whether they're answering phones or cleaning your office, they are selling your company. So everything from how your vehicles are parked to what they look like to how you engage people in public, all of that is super important. All right. But you really need to know who it is you're speaking to. So think about it. This is another good stopping point for you to take some notes, but are you working with homeowners with property damage, right? Or do you not want to deal with residential jobs at all? And you want commercial large loss? Because they're two totally separate types of people with totally separate fears, different things and PTSDs that they've gotten screwed in the past about stuff. The Head, Hearts, and Boots podcast, the Floodlight Consulting Group guys have great seminars on this stuff. So if you are looking to kind of figure this out a little bit deeper dive and come through the psychology of it all, I implore you to check out Floodlight Group. Brandon and Chris are awesome. They run a podcast, the Head, Hearts, and Boots, and they are at every single association. Shout out to you guys. But they have a really great process that I've learned a lot from them, just trying to kind of figure out what we can do better for our clients when it comes to figuring out who it is that they're working for, right? So once you've identified who that is, then the next thing you need to do is figure out what their fears are. And I don't mean they're afraid of the dark or anything like that. I mean, you're building up trust. Somebody on a residential side, their kitchen caught on fire, right? Now they're displaced, smoke damage, fire damage. They've got kids running around. There's water lines broken. They've got 75 restoration companies throwing flyers on their front porch while they're crying and lost their stuff. You need to understand that, and your marketing message and what makes you unique to work with them should speak to that person. All right. So really spend some time on this. This is just as important as anything you could be doing for your business at all. Okay. It's figuring out who it is that you want to work for. From there, as I mentioned, you're going to craft your message. What is going to make you the best choice for them to do business with? What benefits do you offer that your competition doesn't? Are you in one of those lines on that big fire job? Are you the one throwing flyers on their front porch while they're crying and holding their last burnt picture of their family? If they've lost everything. I've been there. The last thing I want is somebody coming up and bugging me about, let me come in and restore your house, right? I'm going to deal with that another time. So you really have to understand who it is you want to work with. And then what you want to do is you want to make a message that's going to help build the trust. Tell them that you understand what they're going through, and then show them how you are different and how you are going to help them mitigate this problem, to eliminate those fears. A lot of people are afraid of getting ripped off. They're afraid you're going to come in with some dirty technicians that are going to ruin their house. They're afraid of the fight. The infighting. You've got your remediation. You've got the drywall guy. If you're doing recon, you've got drywall and paint and electrician and all these different people in there. And you have to remember, Rod Cruz always talks about it, and a few different people talk about this. As a restoration contractor, you're just a project manager, right? So you have to keep that mentality in mind. But anyways, you want to make sure that you know how it is that you're going to resonate with these people, right? The low-hanging fruit there, show off that badge. You're IICRC certified. That shows that you're serious about your business. You offer 24/7 emergency service, 5-star Google rating. I'd be reluctant to put the 5-star, but if you've got a ton of 5-star reviews, awesome. Put it on the website. If you've got 4.8 stars, great. There's other plugins that you could be putting on your website to show off those reviews, okay? Use them as a social media post. Just really think about who it is you want to sell to, how you are going to sell to them. Because until you know who, you're not going to be able to make your message. You're just going to be as vanilla as everybody else. Oh, we're number one in our area. But BS, who told you that? So if that's you, really take some time to really divulge this with some of your key players in your team, and then dictate that to your company. All right. So the next part of this, back to the fundamentals, is looking at your media. This is how you're going to get that message across, right? So for this presentation, really, when it comes to digital marketing, the best way is your website, right? It's the window into your business in this digital marketplace. Everybody has a website. But there's a lot more nuance to it than that. You can't just have a website, right? You got to make sure you're set up for success to convert those eyeballs, right? You can have the nicest website in the world, right? And I talk about this kind of like business cards. You can print the best business cards in the world, but if you don't take them out of your car, nobody's going to find you, right? So you can have the best looking, in your opinion, website, but it might not be converting. You might be sending a bunch of traffic. It's not converting. So we're going to take a look at a few things when it comes to websites, what you really need to be looking out for you to kind of give yourself a gut check and look into your current situation, right? A few housekeeping things. This is huge. I don't see it as often now, but do not let anybody ever, unless it's you, buy a domain, set up a hosting account to where it's not 100% in your name. That's like setting up a business and letting somebody you don't know get your license and qualify you. And then what happens if you butt heads and they go away? You built this brand, they own your licensing, you're shit out of luck. So the same thing happens with websites. If you would allow an agency or a one-man show, or even you hire a guy that comes in and he's already got a GoDaddy account and your head's in the sand and you're like, yeah, so-and-so is going to make this work. They're going to build me a website, and you're just letting them do carte blanche. They buy your domain and then you fire them because they're incompetent. They don't have to give you that website. They own that website. So think about that. Don't put yourself in that situation. Make sure you own all of your tangible digital marketing properties, hands down. Same thing for hosting. We've come into countless clients who allow a marketing agency to host their website, right? We're gonna take care of everything. You just pay us a monthly fee and we'll get going. And things are great for 4 or 5 months. And then something happens and you stop getting leads. And then you're like, I found another marketing agency. I think they found some gaps. We're going to move on. And like, oh, well, no, you're not, because we own it. We own your content. We have your hosting. You're screwed. So you're starting completely over from scratch. So a couple things that you need to make sure, if there's anything you take away from this section, is own your own domain, own your own hosting. We partner with a third-party hosting agency. They built a custom hosting solutions for with SEO in mind. So it's super secure, but we don't want to own that. We don't buy domains on behalf of our clients, because who knows? People are crazy, and we don't want to be the ones responsible for it. So in general terms, do that. Always suggest using a WordPress CMS. WordPress is the most search engine friendly content management system. That's kind of the engine that runs your website. There's Squarespace and Wix and all these other guys out there, but in the pantheon of all the different CMSs, WordPress takes the cake. I think 90% of the internet is powered by WordPress as far as the home services go. So it's there. Also, it's really user friendly. So any web developer, any company should be able to, if they're competent, should be able to get into a WordPress site and really just make sure you don't have any kind of lapse if you're moving agencies or you're firing and bringing in a new team. All right. And you got to make sure you're optimizing for user experience. Having a website is great. Having a website that's not found on a search engine, not so great. It's like the business card in the car. So part of the SEO process, as we'll get into later, is making sure your site loads fast, which boils down to the hosting and kind of how the site's built. So hosting does really matter when it comes to getting SEO results. And your user experience. Are you making it difficult for somebody to get in touch with you? And we're going to talk about that a little bit now when we talk about conversion, right? So you can send all the traffic you want, but if they're not calling you, it's kind of worthless, right? So the basics for conversions. Make sure it's professional looking. If you haven't touched your website in 3-4 years, you're due for a redesign. I don't care how well it's working. Trends change, design aspects change, the back ends, the engines change. From a nerd perspective, PHP versions are deprecated. You're at risk of security flaws, and it's always a good idea to refresh your website every 4 years or so. We do it to our website as well. We reach out to our clients and kind of tell them. In a lot of cases, we're engaged with them in some sort of web development, so we're kind of doing that as time goes on anyways. But take a look at it, right? You want to make sure you have the most important information for your user above the fold. And when I talk about above the fold, I mean everything above where they first get to your website that they do not have to scroll to. So if you look here, you have what professional looking logo, clickable phone numbers, a USP call to action, the 5-star rating review, you got a video right on the homepage. You've got what they do right here. I don't have to scroll anywhere to engage with this restoration company. If I found them from a Google search for mold remediation or water damage restoration, and I ended up on this site, I would be able to instantly, whether I was on my phone, my tablet, or my PC, call them, learn more about their company, and get them on the phone. You gotta remember, there's some urgency when it comes to property damage restoration. People aren't just trying to find a restaurant to eat at. They have a problem. They're not Google searching mold damage unless they're maybe trying to do something nefarious with their insurance agency, right? So you got to make sure you have these basics in order, and make sure your website's set up to convert. Converting traffic into leads. So all of these elements, making sure that you have them in place is super important, because conversion is the most important metric you could be looking at when it comes to websites, because traffic costs a lot of money to send to your website, but converting that traffic is free if you have the basics in order and you have conversion in mind when you're setting up your website, right? Another big one that we see quite a bit, and what we're going to dive into this a little bit more, is not having a site that's mobile optimized. So in most cases, if you built a site 4 years ago, out the gate on WordPress, it's already optimized for mobile, but that doesn't mean you just build it on PC and it's already set up for mobile. No, your web developers actually have to go in just like a separate website and make sure that the images are lining up properly, your content, your text are optimized for mobile, to make sure you're converting those eyeballs that are most likely coming from a mobile device. In the home services industry, which restoration falls into, people have an immediate need. They have already found you from a search engine. You want to make it really easy for them to get in touch with you. Everything clickable from a phone. Check out your website. Pause it here. Check your website out on your mobile device. Make sure you can click a phone number above the fold that can call you for emergency damage. As you can see, this is how we set this website up. You got to remember, most people are coming from a device. That's just the signs of the times. But also, if you think about it practically, when there's a hurricane in South Florida and we get wiped out, right? Power's gone, or a fire, or got, frozen, whatever happens, some natural disaster happens. In most cases, power's out, and that means Wi-Fi's out. That means the only sense of communication you're going to have, unless the cell phone towers are gone, is somebody pulling out their cell phone to try to find somebody to help them with their property damage. advantage. Okay. So keep that in mind with your website. The best way to check this is just go look at your website on your phone, right? And just be like, put your feet in the shoes of your target customer and make sure it's easy to get in touch with you, right? So the basics, clickable phone number, who you are, what you do right there in front of their face, and a call to action that they know that they can trust you and to give you a call. All right. So some of the takeaways from this section here, you got to understand who your target customer is, right? What is the messaging that's going to resonate with them? Does that website, because that's going to be the vehicle that drives your brand across to them. Social has a place too, but in most cases, website's going to be driving that. Does it speak to that person? Is that website built to convert? Is it optimized for mobile? How's your page speed? There's a really cool tool on Google because it's so important. It is a ranking factor, pagespeed.web.dev. It'll actually give you a score on your website to tell you what kind of your health looks like on your website for when it comes to page speed and user experience. All right. So there's a lot more into that. And we're going to have some other webinars this year where we dive really deep into website building and structure and why, and what the psychology is behind it, and then what the technical aspects are behind it. So you can make sure that you're on the right track. All right. Make sure you have the basics in order. Make sure it's mobile optimized first. If you're not, number one, Google won't index your site. So if you're spending money on SEO and your mobile site sucks, wasting money. And just remember after this is that your conversion rate's way more important than the traffic that you're sending there, because traffic's expensive. Conversions are free if you take these takeaways into consideration. All right. Now, what do we got to do to drive leads, right? Right now, we want to dominate Google, where the attention that you have is going to equal dollars. We want those, right? Why Google? We hear that a lot. And some agencies out there, and I've heard it, I sit through a lot of these seminars, and some of these agency owners are really, I think, banking on some ambiguity and banking a little bit on fear that you're not optimized for Bing and you're not optimized for Apple and Yahoo and all these other search engines, which, yes, you should be optimized for them. But if you take a look at this graphic here, and if you're listening to me in a car, Google dominates search worldwide. Over 90% of searches are coming from Google. So if you're going to worry, you're going to sit in a seminar and you're going to hear somebody talk about Bing and we optimize for Bing and blah, 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 blah. That's fine. I think you should. But if you're ignoring Google, if they can't get you ranked on Google, you're wasting your time. So you'd rather go after the bigger lion's share of search, which is Google right now. And it's going to change. It probably is going to, it may not. There's a lot of stuff coming out there with AI and just different ways that people are searching. But right now for home services, this is what you want to be concentrating on Google, right? Things are gonna grow and change, but really make sure you're concentrating on Google, okay? And that's really why. We don't talk about Bing a whole lot here. We do set that up for our clients as well, because you should, right? Cast a big net, be omnipresent. Now, when it comes to Google, another thing that comes up quite a bit is, and it's fine because not everybody is going to be technical. Every single lead that comes in, it came from Google in some people's eyes. That's not really the case. If you're spending money on the three big ones, which is organic search via SEO, Google Ads, which is either going to be pay-per-click or LSA, and Google Business Profile Management, which is going to affect your Maps rankings, you should know where those leads are coming from. Every one of those channels are very different and are all going to take different tactics and different budgets to get you those leads. So wouldn't it be nice to know exactly where they came from? Keep that in mind. But the three main components of a Google search, we did a water damage restoration search for Chicago, Illinois. These are the results that you're going to get product. The first section always on any Google search is going to be the Google Ads section. The very first section for restoration contractors or even cleaning companies is going to be something called a Google Guarantee, which is the LSA or local service ads section, right? And then right below that are your traditional Google Ads, which is your text ads, your pay-per-click stuff that you've probably heard of in the past. They're very different, okay? We're going to talk about LSA and pay-per-click here in a little bit, but just keep in mind they're very different. Then the next section is going to be the Google Business Profile section or your Maps rankings, which is tied directly to your Google Business Profile. So if you are not managing your Google Business Profile or you don't have one, pay close attention, because if you don't, you have watered down gas if you're spending money on any kind of leads. And this is really the bread and butter for restoration or even just any kind of home service in general are these Maps rankings. So if you're not ranking well on Maps, it's probably because you're not optimized or you just don't have a Google Business Profile, because they're tied together. And then last, but certainly not least, and fittingly so, as the foundation of this search engine results is the organic section of Google. It's holding up these other two sections. And really think about how I said that. It is literally the foundation of your marketing plan and should be, right? It's a non-paid listing. It's very much strongly correlated now with a recent algorithm update. Well, not recent now, we're in 2025. So it's been a couple of years where they've decoupled the business profile and your organic search, and now they kind of work together. And Google Business Profile, specifically the reviews, is now working into your rankings on your ads. So while all three of these channels are very different tactics to rank them, they all are very important into each other. But organic search through SEO is the most long-run, sustainable avenue for bringing leads into your business that you can ever have when it comes to digital marketing. And we're going to dive into that a little bit here very shortly. Right now. This short. So we talk about SEO. I like to talk about it like this. So we know, and you should know, SEO takes quite a while to get you ranked, right? You have, depending on your area, there's over 400 ranking factors, but depending on your competition, how saturated it is, and tactics, and where you kind of are in Google's eyes as far as authority, SEO can take 3 months to a year to really rank healthily. So we like to call that, knowing that it is the most sustainable, cost-effective way to get leads, we call that the garden. Right? So you're going to tend your garden, you're going to till your garden, you still have to pay attention to it, but throwing seeds in the ground and spraying some water on them isn't going to spring up the lead that you need, right? You need to nurture that. But the reality of life is you need to get food or leads in now. And that's where the pay-per-click, because they're instantaneous. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Before we do, I am pleased. I want to bring on one of my best friends, a guy here that's been here since the beginning, JC. If you are a client of ours, you definitely know his name. You definitely are going to know his voice. He's our operations director. He's a digital marketing guru, as you can see from his background, and he is an incredible lead guitarist for our Ironclad band that we're starting, that nobody knows that we're starting yet. JC has over 20 years of experience in digital marketing specifically. Not to throw his age out there, but he was there from the beginning of the internet. He's worked with some huge brands like Ferrari, Puma, Columbia Sportswear, Sony Music. And we're super fortunate to have him here just because of that, because it's very rare to have somebody with that different, diverse of a background when it comes to digital marketing. JC kind of is like the Wizard of Oz here at Ironclad. He oversees all of the daily operations on all of the marketing departments, including sales, business dev, account management, project management, production, name a hat. JC's got it on. And specifically for the restoration world, like I said, he's been here with me since day one. He has over 10 years of experience dealing in your industry specifically. So enough of the introduction. I want to go ahead and have everybody welcome JC to the presentation. JC, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
And all the millions of people that are listening to this hear JC okay? Yeah. All right. We're good. We're going to move right in, JC. Anything you want to add to your intro there? You are the lead guitarist. I didn't tell everybody else, but we are starting a band, and I need you for that.
For a sheer terror acoustic cover band?
Yeah. So ultimate New York hardcore acoustic cover band with some country sprinkled in there. We're going to move this right along, JC, and I know you've been following along. And JC, I really appreciate your input here that you've had when it comes to SEO and just over in general, all of the different things that we've had to go through, but more specifically putting together this internet marketing plan. Because I know in the past, it's always me up here just blabbering on about everything. But the reality is it's not just me, right? My team has put together all of this information. So when it comes to SEO, there's nobody I could have thought of to bring in to run everybody through this section than you. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. We talked a little bit beforehand. I'm going to let you go through your whole spiel. And I know that everybody listening out there, this is going to be a really important aspect. Remember, this is the foundation of your digital marketing plan. So JC, take it away, buddy.
SEO. Been involved with digital marketing for now 22 years. And from the early days of black hat SEO, keyword stuffing and all sorts of, spamming techniques that still go on today. In the beginning, it was about, quality content, quality, links. Now, I'm not going to go into the details. I can spend a whole week talking about, keyword density, meta tags, backlinks, and so on. All right. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that, you have, whether you're doing it yourself or you have, or at least a firm understanding of just the basics of getting your website positioned on the first page of Google. All right. And, there was a new algorithm update called, it was EEAT, which is an acronym for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. There's a lot of moving parts from, having, consistent, blog content where you're focusing on, answering those frequently asked questions,
Yeah.
making sure that, from a trustworthiness perspective that your website, has, that IIC certification, all right? And, making sure that you have, just in a more simple level, separate service pages. I speak to, new prospects every single day, and that's still a common problem I'll see, where they'll just have like, one service page and, a paragraph for each service that they provide. In 2025, that is not going to cut it. So, again, SEO, you want to have that real estate. And just to give you just a quick story in terms of, how it helped one of our clients. Last year, Hurricane Milton, one of the big 100-year storms that hit the Tampa area, one of our clients was positioned so well organically with both the organic section of Google, and including the Google Maps section, that they didn't even have to run, any paid ads with the LSA or Google search text ads. Everybody else and their grandmother was spending, and keep in mind, during storms, Google does, basically legal, it's price gouging, leads are going for, for $100, $300, and there's nobody else that's going to, stop them. Well, the government's now messing with them. So, you can imagine having to spend, all that money versus just being, positioned organically on the first page of Google. So, that's, one thing to make sure that you have SEO in your arsenal. So.
Yeah, and great points. And just to reiterate something, because that's really cool that you talk about, SEO and the tactics and all these things and what Google's looking for. And they want helpful content, right? It's no different than the people that are looking for your stuff. Google's putting themselves in their shoes, and that's how they craft their algorithms for rankings in a lot of cases when it comes to content. So appreciate that. SEO, search engine optimization, JC reiterated, it's the foundation. But JC, why do people need SEO? As if we had to explain.
Sure. So, in the age of AI now, it's becoming a big part of, technology, and it's getting, scaringly, I see some of this deepfake stuff going on right now, where it's just, it's insane, and it's only going to get more advanced over time. So, but for home services, especially emergency services, where people are, their water heater broke, they're not going to go to search on ChatGPT on how to mitigate that issue. They want someone, they're going to go to their phone, do a search for water damage restoration in their specific city, and look at, Ben just showed you the Google legend on their phone first. So, it's extremely important. The whole goal is, it's not so much Google, but it's like, this is a way to really help those homeowners, those business owners, save, their livelihood, and if you're not positioned there, somebody else's, your competition, is going to be there. So you want to make sure, that you are, and this is not going to change, even with all this AI stuff going on anytime, in the near future. And we stay on top of, all the different changes. That's part of what I do every single day, between the different Facebook groups, and all the gurus, search engine land. I got to make sure that, I get all the alerts that if something's coming down a pipeline that we need to pivot. So, for example, a few years ago, when Google was switched to mobile index only, we had to make sure all of our clients' websites were mobile friendly, first and foremost. So,
whether we built them or not, right? I mean, it's you got to check, because we're getting paid to give you results, and that's something I think, and kudos to you and the team. You guys are constantly, the landscape is constantly changing and evolving. And we talked about that before. 90% of people are using a search engine to find a home service, right? And 69% of the traffic that's coming in is coming from local and organic search. But the cool part about that is, and we talked about this before, is almost 60% of companies still aren't optimizing their sites properly for local search. So that's a huge opportunity for those of you guys out there that are trying to get leads from the internet to maybe, if things aren't working as fast as you want, as long as you're on the right track and you follow and you have a great agency or you're following along with this stuff, you're going to have really good results. Because when people are looking for you, you got to be there because they have an immediate need, right, JC? They're not searching for a restaurant. They're searching for somebody to help them out with a disaster.
Exactly.
But you missed the most important part of why you need to be ranking well on Google. It's because if you ever want to hide a dead body, page 2 is where it's at. So that's something that is funny, but it's also true.
All right. Most people, once they go through like the first page, and they don't find they're going to hit the back button and do a different search for a different keyword.
Yeah. And a big thing, JC, that we hear this all the time is just guys out there are no guarantees when it comes to SEO, right? If anybody's promising page 1, anybody's promising an increased amount of leads in any way, just run the other way. And the screenshot that's up here, if you're watching on YouTube, is literally from Google. It's a couple years old. I'm sure they haven't changed this. Google hasn't engaged with anybody to give them preferential treatment. But the first bullet here that's highlighted says, no one can guarantee number 1 rankings or any kind of preferential treatment or any relationships. I've talked to a lot of people that have friends that work at Google and blah, blah, blah. It's usually BS, right, JC?
Yeah. And, keep in mind, in terms of SEO and the organic section, getting on the first page of Google, that's just half the picture.
Yes.
All right. The bigger piece of that is, conversions. You want those phone calls.
Right.
We can get our clients, all the first page rankings in the world. But, if that phone is not ringing with qualified people, that legitimately need their services, then what's the point? So just, all roads, I always tell our prospects, all roads lead towards, getting those qualified calls.
So on that vein and getting results, where we're going to go to next, I want to kind of talk to everybody a little bit about how to, from 30,000 foot view. I know you and I can sit here for a month and talk about SEO, and we will be running some SEO webinars here pretty soon for the DIY guys or people that might be considering engaging with an agency, but kind of walk everybody through. And I've got some points on here too, but I'm going to let you kind of take this along and kind of see, what it is going to take to get them to rank well in the organic section. Sure.
So, in terms of having a website that's device responsive, again, first and foremost, think about the buyer's journey. That homeowner, business owner, their toilet blew up, and they're not gonna go search on their desktop. They're gonna go, reach for their phone and do that search for water damage restoration near me or in the city that they're at. Right, and you want to make sure that all the relevant, important elements that Ben mentioned earlier today in terms of conversions, are in place. The second thing I mentioned also, as far as, having separate pages for each, service that you provide, that's goes without saying, especially if you want to compete with, whether it's the big franchises out there or your local competitor that's always on page 1, that's a big part. All right. Yeah. On page optimization, we can go on. You just want to make sure you have the basic, as far as especially, keywords, and make sure it reads as far as the content. Some people, they get carried away with, trying to just please Google. No, first and foremost, you have to write for that user, that homeowner, business owner, then for the search engines. All right. User experience as far as speed, look at, sometimes, I know, Ben, there's a tool that you can check for page speed, but also, sometimes when I look at a new prospect, for example, when I notice like, okay, this is taking more than, 2 seconds to load up, something's wrong. So, just look at something, just again, look at from the buyer's journey point of view. Then, there's, links, make sure within, for example, the blog that, if it's referencing, how to deal with, mold removal, that you're linking to that respective, mold service page. All right. Then authoritative, relevant and authoritative content. At the end of the day, it's just, those frequently asked questions are the best, topics, where I've seen some people that they try to like come up with fancy, blog titles and so on. And, some of it doesn't even make sense, where they're just putting, about their city. I'm like, no, think about what, you guys have been doing this for a while, what you keep hearing, from time and time again. All right. And then, Google Business Profile that's optimized. Nick is going to go into more detail. I can't stress how important Google Business now is all tied into LSA and especially the reviews, and how we link actually with the post updates to their website, to the city pages, and vice versa. So, everything is, again, very focused on us getting, our clients to the first page of Google. So this way they can get, again, that omni-channel approach of having as much real estate on the first page of Google as possible. So, you can help those people out when they're in need.
Yeah. And just to go back a little bit, JC, so for anybody out there that's engaged with a marketing agency, how often should somebody be adding new content to the website? Whether it be blog or like here, we do something a little bit different as far as content goes, service city pages, but how often should somebody really be addressing that?
Good question. So a few things, the blog, I talk about answering frequently asked questions, but also, I've seen there's some prospects where they still have, like we do COVID sanitization. I'm like, listen, that's we've moved on already from then, and you can tell that it's somewhat dated. But especially now we're getting, it's frozen pipe season right now. Then getting into late summer, fall. The big hurricane name storms are coming through. Make sure that you're at least consistent. And you want to, in terms of your promotions, not only with the blog but social media, so that this way you're top of mind in terms of when it comes up. When that issue, especially with a storm, people are going to think about you. So a lot to manage.
So it sounds like the frequency isn't as important as consistency, I guess, is what we're kind of getting at here. So whether you blog one time a week, answering questions, or you're adding a city service page or anything like that, you just have to be consistent with it. Make sure it's relevant content, it's helpful content, which is what Google is going to be looking for. Now, as far as, you mentioned the COVID stuff, right? That's old school news. If they have, how often should somebody, how big of a ranking factor is it to go in and kind of freshen up your service page content, just in general, just things on your website, as far as the content structure, just how often Google changes things?
It's case to case.
Yeah.
But you have to, read the room, if you will. Right now, we feel for everybody in LA that are dealing with those fires. But unfortunately, they've been decimated so bad where there's nothing left to remediate. Versus, like a kitchen fire, it's a little bit different. That can be, renovated in terms of making sure that, it's properly mitigated, because it's only an isolated situation. So, just make sure that you're current of, what's going on, whether it's seasonality, and making sure that, again, look at it from that potential buyer's point of view, and it's not about you, it's about them. So think about the content you do, right? But also you have to, I hate to say this, but you have to dumb it down so that a fifth grader can read it. The reason why is if you keep it that simple, you're going to be able to speak to a much wider audience versus, using all the, technical terms that may go over most people's head, just KISS.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And, just to kind of reiterate everything. So as far as content goes, you got to be blogging a certain extent. You want to be answering questions, but more so, it sounds like from what you're talking about, you need to have your fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the digital marketing landscape, because it is probably a good idea to check your website every once in a while, go through your content, make sure the right keywords are there. Google loves fresh content, right? That's why we want consistency in blogging and adding content there. And like JC said, read the room. Things are changing so rapidly. You got to make sure it speaks to your brand. You got to make sure it speaks as to what Google's going to be looking for, and that it's properly optimized. And it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You got to be kind of, fluid with your brand and fluid with the type of content you're putting out there, and keep it simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. For the most part in the restoration industry, it's an evergreen market, right? There's always going to be, the seasonality, your typical water heater, toilet overflow, or bathroom mold.
Yeah.
It's not like there's, outside of COVID, it's pretty much, it's the same issues that people are dealing with, throughout the year.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. That's a really good, again, SEO can go, there's so much behind it. We're going to have an SEO only webinar, but in general, make sure that you have a website that's mobile first, have the proper on-page and off-page optimization, which is your name, address, phone number, and all the internal, external links. JC, you mentioned, making sure that blog on what to do if your house floods is linked to your water damage restoration page, because you really think about the psychology behind what this is. This isn't just us appeasing this, Google and, we're going to make Google happy. This is how people think. Because I'm a DIY guy, right? My kid, let's say I have a flood, right? Or my septic backs up. I'm not going on like, I need somebody to come here and do my septic. Well, maybe have somebody come pump the septic, but I need somebody right away. The first thing I'm going to do is try to figure out how to fix it myself. So if you are the authority on that content and that subject, they're going to find you first. And we know the brevity and how the gravity of having some of these disasters happen is, in most cases, they may not want to do it themselves. Your website's there to teach, be helpful, but then bring it home to say, hey, we can help you with this problem. All right. So I know, JC, you wanted to talk about this because I know a lot of people, because of how ambiguous this is, and there's a lot of struggles out there with everything. And again, we could spend 3 hours talking about, one little aspect about SEO. But for the purpose of today, JC, I want you to take them through a few things that we can do for everybody out there.
Sure. So, it's very overwhelming in terms of all the content that Ben, just described in the beginning, from LSA, Google Maps, Google Ads, organic, and so on, where, a lot of people, they get confused, like, all right, so what does this all mean? How does this tie in to my restoration business? Because all I give a damn about is like, I just want people to call, the right people, not just people that are looking for trabajo.
Right.
So, we offer a free strategy session, and, there's, what I do is I'll first find out, your website. I'll take a look. I'll do an audit. Make sure, what's missing or what's good. I'm a straight shooter. If I see you need a new website, I'm going to let you know. But I'll give you specific details, and I'll even show you examples of what it should like. All right. I'll look at your Google business profile. The photos, specifically Google reviews. The consistency of those Google reviews. I can't stress that enough. And Nikki and Yaz are going to talk about it in a moment. I'll look at, again, so what I do in terms of the next point, LSA and Google Guaranteed, I do a search and see, for water damage restoration near me or their specific city, what it looks like in terms of see if there's any photo violations if they're not ranked high, why is it that they're not ranked, in the top, I would say 3 to 5 positions. I'll look at the social media, make sure that they're consistent. But also I'm looking at from the buyer's journey. Again, I keep doing those searches, I keep it really super simple. If I'm somebody that's potentially looking for that restoration company's business, okay, what are the steps they go through? All right. Are they, after doing a Google search for water damage restoration near me or that city, where are they even showing up, anywhere in the first page of Google or the second page? I also look at within their service area, maybe the top cities. Usually, give or take, it's about, within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Where do they, are they still, not even on the first page? If not, then like, hey, this is what you guys need to fix. You need our help, we can do that. And we have tons of free resources. We just put out the LSA checklist. There's a marketing checklist. So at least, it's good, to understand, you don't have to do it in-house, but at least know the basics of what's involved. So this way, what to look for. All right. I just spoke to a prospect yesterday where they were currently with an agency, but they're locked into a 1-year contract. But they still, within 6 months, they still have not got their LSA Google Guaranteed approved. I'm like, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. If they can't get that right, forget the contract. Like, you guys, need to move on because you have a business to run, and by them holding it back because they don't know, especially these companies, these restoration companies that are dealing with those generous agencies.
Yeah.
We've been through the ringer, especially getting Google business profiles, unsuspended, or even verified if they moved. Nikki will go talk about that, but that's
don't ruin the surprise.
If you don't have your ducks in a row. Yeah, if you don't have your ducks in a row, if you don't have a Google business profile in 2025 that's verified,
what's happening, JC? What's going to happen if you don't have a Google business profile? Nothing.
You're gonna have to pay Google tens of thousands of dollars through Google Ads just to get to the first page. So you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
And speaking of resources, I know we're all of this stuff that JC's talking about, these strategy sessions and all this stuff. We do this for free. I mean, we do hundreds of these a month easily. Not only that, but from a content and a resource perspective, I've got over 300 videos on YouTube. I do this podcast. I have the book that I wrote. All of that stuff is very, very readily available. And not to mention, every single key player on our team here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing, everybody loves what they're doing here and they don't mind talking shop. One thing I love to do is, and hate to see as well, but I love to just be able to look at somebody's kind of current track and be able to figure out ways that I can help them. And it's even more fun and more rewarding to tell them listen, you're on the right track. I love to be that voice of reason because, marketing, when things are not good, marketing is the first people to get the hammer, right? Oh, you're not sending leads in here and blah, 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 blah. But if your ducks are in a row from a marketing agency and the agency's doing the right thing, it's really refreshing to be able to say listen, no, there's not, this is just an effect of either the seasonality or your competition or just something way out of everybody's control. You need to stay the course. If you're trying to, I go back to the fitness thing. If you're trying to lose weight and every single day you're just looking in the mirror and you're not doing anything, probably not going to get too far. But if you look in a mirror, less frequently, every 2 weeks and you stay consistent, that's the only way to judge how this is going. And you mentioned something about contracts. We don't make anybody sign contracts because we know what we are capable of. We're very confident in what we do. And listen, if sometimes, even when we're doing our best efforts, we're putting our best foot forward, every one of our clients, no matter if we have 300 clients or 20 clients, every single one of our clients are just as important to us as the next guy. But sometimes things just don't work and we can't figure it out. And unless you have a few months to spend just waiting until these things kick back into place, if there's an algorithm update nobody knows about, there's sometimes it's time to move on. But what we're always confident in is that nobody's going to step in and do things differently or a secret way that's going to beat what we're doing, right? We're exhausting all efforts to get you the rankings you need. So with that being said, if you guys want to schedule a strategy session, it's free. You just head on over to our website at ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. You can plug right to JC directly with all the things he has going on. JC always makes time to talk to anybody when it comes to helping them with their digital marketing. JC, thanks for putting this together. Anything you want to add before I kick you out of the webinar?
No, that's it.
It's blowing up. They want you to get out of here. So they're tired of hearing about SEO. They're ready to move to the next thing. I'm just kidding. All right. JC, thank you, sir. I'm kicking you out now. Get out of here. All right, everybody. I hope you got a lot of value out of that SEO section. And, right on that same vein as far as providing value, and JC mentioned this, and we kind of joked around a little bit about it, but one of the biggest ways you can help dominate in Google, especially when you're spending money on SEO, is having a Google business profile that is properly optimized, okay? And I am very excited here, and JC kind of spilled the beans, but I'm bringing in somebody who is one of the most integral members of the team here. You may have talked to her via email. She might have gotten you out of the biggest hole when it comes to your Google business profile being suspended. She is a wizard with Google business profile. She's also a content genius, and I call her the social media maven. Nikki, she is an art school kid. I went to art school too, so that's pretty cool. She has a bachelor's degree in advertising and marketing. So not only is she good at all these specific channels, but she has a wealth of knowledge, real school-based knowledge, not like me that's self-taught and all this stuff that I've done. She's actually got a degree in it, right? She specializes in copywriting. She loves writing geared towards successful white hat marketing, which is what you want to be doing. She's got a ton of years of experience and real high-level administrative assistance. She really understands the ins and outs of businesses, and that helps her become she's way more effective at each individual one of these channels than most people are, just because of that acumen in business. And she's really cool. The best thing about Nikki, she's always learning and improving. A bright spot here at the dark brand of Ironclad. And she is our team leader for the Google Business Profile Management crew and our lead copywriter. There's many other things that Nikki does behind the scenes that nobody really knows about. But before I inflate her head too big to not fit on the screen, I want to go ahead and have everybody welcome Nikki to the webinar. Nikki.
It's me. Hi.
Hi, Nikki.
Thank
you so much for taking the time out and appeasing me and just coming on here to help our audience of literally tens of people to be watching this to learn how they can improve their digital marketing. But I thought it was really important to bring you on. I talk about Google Business Profile and how important it is all the time, but it's always nice to hear a fresh voice because you're the one in the trenches. You're the one doing all this stuff. So I really appreciate you coming on today and helping us out with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk about stuff that I know, and that's it. Oh, yeah.
And you are also, I forgot at the bottom, you're a social media operations team leader. Now this is our internal social media. So if you watch our videos and there's a whole social media team, but Nikki kind of pulls the strings and kind of dictates. She even gives me amazing content ideas. So as much as I'd like to take all the credit for every single thing that happens here, Nikki is one of the most integral parts of this company, and can't thank her enough. So Nikki, talk to me. Let's go through your Google Business Profile expertise. Start at the beginning. I'm going to kind of give the floor to you. Pop in when the bubbles start popping in my head and I have questions, and interrupt you here and there. But I'd like you to walk everybody through the whole Google Business Profile. If you're still in the old school Google My Business, Google Business Plus, Google Places, whatever the hell they want to call it. Right now, it's the GBP.
Yeah, forever changing, forever, there's always hoops you got to jump through, but it is a tool that is necessary in today's digital climate. It helps your business with maps, but not just maps. It's, organic. It's everything you need all in one spot. It is, like I said, it's free. You could put all of your important information up there. Pretty much any leads that you're going to be getting, people are most likely going to see you here. It is a perfect little picture of your company, so long as you optimize it, which is something that we'll get a little bit more into. That's where you get your reviews. I know I love reading reviews. My favorite thing to do is to read the 1-star reviews because they're either really funny or really informative. So, they happen. So you get your reviews, you can show people the work that you're doing, which is super important. If I'm looking for somebody to fix my burnt down kitchen, I'm not going to just take their word for it. I'm going to be looking at pictures and videos and reviews, and all in one spot here. It's number one tool for your business for sure.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate that, it is one of the most integral pieces, and most of your home service traffic is going to come from your Google Business Profile.
Yeah, so we say here it's directly tied to your maps now. Now, if you're managing your Google Business Profile on your own, you see that you're actually managing it through the Google Maps app on your phone. There's not really a dashboard anymore. That's something that's changed pretty recently. It's based on proximity, so you can set your little service area and people in that area can find you. It's really great for finding those leads that are your neighbors rather than people that find you, across the country. And you can utilize it and optimize it with your photos. You can link to your city pages. There's so many. I could go into this forever. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me talk forever. We can always do something, later down the line.
We are. We're going to take a real deep dive into Google Business Profile with you, Nikki, pretty soon here. So surprise, our 100th episode, I get to surprise all the employees here with extra work. So
yeah, I love
that's
it.
on you. But yeah, just to go back to what you were saying, I really don't want to. I want to make sure people aren't downplaying how important this is, but how cool it is of a tool. And I know, as great as it is, it's also super frustrating, right? There's so many changes all the time, and we curse in the sky at Google and stuff like that, but we need it, right? As a home service business, this is your meat and potatoes, right? This is how most of your leads are going to come in. This is how your social proof is proven. People are going to read the reviews, whether good or bad, and they're going to learn a little bit about your business. And there's some other features that I'm going to let you go into as we get into there, but I want to just jump through to some practical things, like some of the best practices. And this is something you put together to maybe walk the audience through your Google business profile. We know how important it is, right? So if you don't have one, stop listening to this, go start working on it. Nikki's going to give you some tips and tricks on just getting it, or if you have it, how to optimize it properly, the verification process that everybody's afraid of. Nikki, so I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what you need to do when it comes to your Google business profile, how to get it verified, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no doubt. So we're going to fit this really big topic into a very small container for today, but if you have any questions, you could always reach out to us. I'm always working. I have nothing better to do, so I'm here. I haven't cried yet in 2025, but talking about getting your Google business profile verified might be the limit for me. So they keep changing. It used to be a postcard. It used to be after that it was submitting videos. Now the big thing that Google's doing is live videos. So sounds simple enough. You talk to somebody, but you do need to prepare for these things. There is criteria that you need to meet. You need to show, sorry, this glare on my glasses is driving me crazy. You need to be able to show your address, your street, where you're located, trucks, signage. So it might sound like a lot. It kind of is, and they change it a lot. But if you're prepared, if you take the 2 minutes it takes to look into what they're looking for, you should be all right. And I actually did read last night, I didn't get to add it to this, but it could be exciting news, is they are now telling people why, if you didn't pass your verification, what you're missing. So that is, guys, we've gone through with some of our clients, and if you're watching this, bless your hearts, suspensions that have taken us a couple days to get through. And we've gone through suspensions that have taken the clients months to get through because their criteria just wasn't lining up with Google's. And, Google's coming from a great place where they want to make sure that the consumer's getting accurate information from legitimate businesses. But it's frustrating for smaller companies, for, people that aren't necessarily tech savvy. So if you're there, if you're frustrated, I've been there. This is my job. I've been frustrated about it too. I promise you could get through it. And if you need help, we're always here, but it's a road and it changes a lot. So just prepare yourself the best you can for verifying. It wasn't meant to be a scare tactic, but now it is.
It is scary. I mean, geez, a few years ago, if you breathed on your Google business profile wrong, it would suspend it. And then that's really cool to hear this news that they're going to tell you why. That was the frustrating part, because the specific client she's talking about, God bless them, because they stuck with us for 7 months, I think it took to get it. But the cool thing is we have a 100% we have a 100% success rate when it comes to getting these things reinstated. So whether it takes a few days or a few months or a few years, if you love us that much, we do have a 100% success rate. It's just the problem is they don't tell you what you're doing wrong. Whether it's a user error, a lot of times it's a little user error because we can't do the video for you. We can't verify it for you. And I know you touched base on, a few of the things with claiming and verifying, but just to reiterate, before you go through that process, Nikki, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably a really good idea to optimize your entire profile through Google Maps and whatever you're going to use with it. We have a lot of resources out there on how to do this. And in fact, I believe we have some stuff on the website that teaches you, the step-by-step. And we're working on the new one because it's changed. But make sure you have your entire profile 100% done. You're ready 100% with your video verification before you even try it. Because if you do get a soft suspension for it, or they don't re-verify it, it just makes things way harder for you.
Yeah. So there is some limitations if you get suspended with what you can change. And just to kind of put it out there for people. If you have to update your address, if you're changing your business name, most of the time, if you have some documentation, it's really not going to be that hard of a process, but there may be some hoops to jump through. And it's kind of like every other situation where it will depend on the person that is on the other end of the call too. So if you could be, some kind of, if you're changing your name and you have your DBA, if you're changing your address and you have a bill that shows your new address with your business name on it, little things like that can take you a really long way. I would almost suggest maybe getting those things before you attempt to change your name, unless it's causing you some super hardships. But yeah, so preparedness is key. Being aware of these things ahead of time is key, and it'll get you really far in the verification process if you just keep your stuff together. And if you're a legitimate business and you have all this stuff, you have nothing to worry about other than wanting to pull your hair out because the person on the other end is not useful. And Google has kind of taken away a lot of their customer support, so you're on your own a little bit there, unless you have somebody that's there to help you. So just keep all of that in mind. But it's a frustrating process, but once you're done, you hopefully won't have to go through it again. And you have this really excellent tool that's going to help your website, your LSA, your ads, pretty much everything. It's like a snapshot for your customer. So it's 1 out of 1. Awesome.
Yeah. So, I guess we can keep hammering home how important it is, but I want to give like a real high level overview of, some of the stuff that's on the screen here. If you're listening to this, we've got a slide up for some of the best practices, Nikki. When it comes to optimization and just basic setup, outside of the verification process, that's super frustrating. Walk everybody through, the ins and outs of what they need to make sure they have in place, whether they don't have a profile yet or they have an existing one, the things that need to make sure that they have the must-haves on that GVP.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I didn't really touch on it before, but it does say to claim your business. So if you don't know if you have a Google business profile, there is a chance that somebody out there already made it for you. So Google your business, see if it's out there. If it is, claim it. And then you want to make sure it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, because you do have to check on this every once in a while, because people can go in and say, hey, this phone number doesn't look right, and they can change it. There was a big thing towards the end of last year where competitors were going in and changing your PIN on the map, which was causing a lot of problems. It's a jungle out there, people. Not everybody's your friend. Not everybody wants to see you succeed. So you do have to be vigilant about that. You want to make sure your service area is correct. That's really super important, to make sure that you're hitting the right market. If you don't have a physical address listed, then it's extra important. Your company description, people want to know about you. I don't want a weirdo in my home. If I'm hiring somebody that has to come into my house, I want to know that they're legitimate people that aren't going to come in and kick my dog or whatever. So make sure you write about yourself, talk about your team, put team photos, put videos. I'm looking at all that. If you're talking to me, I'm looking at it. So it's super important. Make sure your information's accurate. I think I have notes to get into it a little bit later as well. Your logo. If I go to your Google business profile and it looks beautiful and I could see all these pictures of your services, and you could even write little descriptions about your services, I'm going to be hooked. I'm going to be like, this is great. All the information I need right here in one snapshot. I don't even have to go to the website. I'm making the call. So optimization is super important, especially if you're marketing to people like me, household people that I'm not going to DIY. I'm not going to wait for my husband to DIY. Don't tell him that. But so I'm going to be the one making the call as soon as my pipes break. And if I see that, I'm going for it, and you're in the clear with that. So And consistency too. Everyone thinks you can kind of just put all these photos up and call it a day, but Google actually, rewards you a little bit if you're, instead of putting up 50 photos at once, you're breaking it into segments of 5 and you're putting it up. And you're putting it up and you're putting it up. They're seeing you're active, that you're still in business, that you're still doing work. So, don't feel like you have to do everything all in one shot other than getting the information up there. Add your photos as you go. And it'll help you in the long run to do it that way too.
Awesome. So recap, guys, got to have it, right? If we haven't hit that home already. So you got to just make sure that you properly fill it out. It's at the end of the day, it's a business listing, right? It's a free property that Google gives you in order to get your business and your brand out there. It's tied directly into your search engine optimization results. So very important if you're spending money on SEO to be spending the time or money, having somebody else manage your Google business profile. But you got to make sure you have accurate information, right? And Nikki, I know you're going to go through some of this stuff because I've put together a few questions and you've put together some stuff that you think that people are struggling with. We're going to talk about here in a minute. But at the end of the day, you've got to make sure your brand, it's a branded asset of yours. So name, address, phone number has to be 100% what is on your website. It's called the NAP. Probably what a lot of you wish you were doing right now during this webinar. Unfortunately, you have to listen to us for a little bit longer. But make sure it's optimized with the right service area, company description, your current website, the right phone number. We also talk about implementing call tracking. I'm going to talk about that later, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a separate number to track calls, especially if you're spending money with different agencies. Like if you have an agency running your LSA or a pay-per-click, somebody else is doing SEO, somebody's doing your maps, or even an in-house, you know what number and you know where those leads came from. Again, with this, it's properly optimizing it. Consistency is another big word that you're going to hear quite a bit here because it's not a set it and forget it thing like it used to be. Back in the day when it was Google My Business or Google Places or Google Plus, everybody just would set it up and that was it. They'd get their aunt and uncle and their cousins to leave them a review and they would never, ever, ever, ever look at it again. Well, nowadays, not only does Google not let updates, and I don't know what the date, like how long an update on your Google business profile is good for. I think it's 3 months, but people aren't going to look at reviews that are more than a month old. Like people are going to look at the newest, latest reviews, and there's data to back that up big time. Reviews is another thing. I'm going to jump right into that right now, and we're going to skim this, Nikki. This is huge. Your reputation online matters to everybody. It not only to your consumer, but I'm going to take it a step further and talk with Zach from Liftify. A shout out to them. They're an amazing third-party review management company that I'm fortunate enough to know the CEO and have talked to him a little bit about this. But people that are looking to buy businesses are looking at your Google reviews. How many you have, how frequently you get them, and what they look like. Now, they're not looking for somebody to have all 5-star reviews, so don't be afraid. Zach always likes to say, don't sacrifice 50 great reviews for one bad. So always ask, but they're looking for the frequency of the reviews and how you're responding to them. Because at the end of the day, those don't go away unless Google's AI changes something in your body. So most people read them. I don't want to spend a ton of time on reviews because we're going to talk about them again in the LSA section and hammer it home. But the most important thing once you have these ducks in a row is making sure you have a process and a system in your business to get reviews consistently, whether that's 1 a month, 5 a month, whatever. Don't just get a couple one day, ramp up, get a bunch, and then not do it anymore. One, it may flag your account, right, Nikki? If you get, you're like, all right, we're going to listen to Ben's webinar, and Nikki told us that we need more reviews. We're going to hit up every one of our clients with an email blast. We're going to get 60 Google reviews this month, and you get them all at once. Probably going to flag your profile suspended, or a lot of those reviews aren't going to show up. So it is important and wouldn't be horrible to get 50 reviews in a month, but they have to be legitimate. They have to be from real work that you've done for somebody, and you just want to be consistent, right? Is there anything else you'd like to do?
Don't underestimate how weird Google can be about information on your Google profile. So if you're spamming, there could be an issue. Reviews, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Get the reviews, reply to them, ask your customers for reviews. Don't be afraid to do it. If you come to my house, I'm just going to keep using myself as an example. If you say, hey, I did this work for you, it was great, please leave me a Google review. I'm probably going to jump on my phone after you leave and leave it for you because I want other people to succeed. And a lot of your clients out there are probably like that too. If you help them, they're probably so happy, so relieved. So, don't feel weird about it.
Yeah. It's so important in the grand scheme, the big picture of your marketing. Like, ask until they tell you to stop asking. You should be a hack for reviews is ask them to upload a photo, right? And a couple things, ways to get like a better response rate on the reviews. Ask them right when you're done fixing their life. If you are bringing in, and it can get a little tricky, especially if you're bringing in a separate mold remediator and a separate recon guy and a drywall guy, because everybody's going to be looking for a Google review. So once your project manager shows up to that job and they make that family feel so good and you've walked them through the whole process, listen, we've got your back, ask for the review then. Ask for the review after you turn them loose in their new kitchen when they're the happiest. People are more apt to leave a review when they're pissed off than they are when they're happy. So it is a little bit of a challenge. So we don't want to oversimplify, just get them, but you should have a well-documented process for every single person in your company to get more reviews for your business. It's just important all around, not just for Google Business Profile visibility, but for the buyer's journey, people making decisions, conversions, and one day you might want to sell your business. A big part that'll multiply the figures and the money that you're getting from your business is having like a legitimate, consistent review process. So Nikki, going to put you on a spot. More than I already have today. And I want to give some people some actionable things to take away from this when it comes to Google, because, Google Business Profile isn't one of those really super ambiguous things like SEO or LSA management, where it's like, you've got to be a specialist really to be super effective. Listen, it's a free channel. So if you have a resource of time, you could probably get by with being pretty competent with your Google. So 3 things. Number 1, is there a wrong way to use your Google Business Profile?
There's a wrong way to do everything. Hot take.
I figured out a lot of the wrong ways to do most things. So
I love doing things the wrong way, except for my job. If I do things the wrong way, I'm sad boy for like 5 days. But yeah, so there is a wrong way, and the wrong way is to, in my opinion, is to underestimate it. I would argue that it's one of the most valuable resources you have. Like I said, it's a snapshot. It's right there. I don't want to have to go through your website and I would be delighted to see that you have water damage, fire damage, all this stuff listed. But if the snapshot's there, if it's giving me the information I need, maybe I'll check it out more, but most likely I'm going right for it. So the biggest way you could use it wrong is to underestimate it. It's your first impression to a customer. You won't have a chance to, redo your first impression most of the time. So just bear that in mind, as this is probably going to be the first way that they're going to see you, going to interact with you. Not claiming your business on Google Business Profile could be a big no-no, because who knows what kind of information will be on there. Going through your information, making sure it's accurate. Like I said, people can go in there. There's trolls, there's unhappy customers. They could just suggest an edit, and who knows if it's going to show up. So for my clients, I go through it once a month. I make sure all the phone numbers match. I have Yaz here. She does call rail management. I probably message her more times than I ever need to, asking her, hey, just want to make sure this is the updated call rail number. You want to make sure it's all there and it's all accurate, because it can change without you doing it. Regularly update it. If you don't have photos to put up, then we'll talk a little bit about Google does like Google Updates now. It's kind of like social media. Do that. Respond to reviews. That looks great. Google loves it. Your people love it. It makes everybody feel happy and good. And like I think we kind of mentioned already, the reviews. If you want to get reviews, make it as easy as you can for your customer. I know this is kind of like a side rail, but if you hand me a card at the end of the service with a QR code on it, and I could just scan it and go and leave a review, you're going places, because I'm doing it. It's easy. It's simple. Do what you can to make it as simple as possible for your customers, and optimizing and having a Google Business Profile is that. It's making it easy for your customers to access you.
All right. You mentioned updates, social media. I've made a bunch of videos about this, but you're actually doing it. What is it, and why should you be doing it?
Yeah, so I wouldn't look at it as a social media outlet, just because you're not really looking for people to view it. You're not looking for people to comment on it or react to it or any of that fun stuff. What you're really looking for is a way to, first of all, put out more information about your company in ways that, there's a nice little picture, there's a little description, it links right to your city page, your specific service, your blogs. It's really making specific pages on your website shine, or it's giving that contact now button that customers could click, call you. That's what it is. It's also another great way to show, pictures of your work. And at the same time, you can, if you feel like, okay, I serve Tampa, Florida, but I feel like I'm not really getting any results from that part of town, you could put water damage restoration in Tampa, Florida, make yourself a pretty little picture, put your logo, your phone number, and slap the graphic up there, link to your Tampa service city page. And that's one way that you can make a little bit of an effort to expand into a market that you might not be tapping into as much as you want to. Will it directly affect Google search? Jury's a little bit out on that. I've seen it go both ways, but I'm of the opinion that if you can optimize it, if it's an easy way for you to put it out there, then go for it. The worst that could happen is you spent 10 minutes of your time posting something that, I think it's great. I think for your customers, it's great, and it could bring people to your website, period. But is it measurable? I don't know. We don't know on that yet, but it's a fantastic way to make your Google profile look either boring to, wow, they've got pictures. They've got, think of it like a kid's book. I could look at the pictures. I could see what I need to see rather than having to go through and scan everything for the information that I might be specifically looking for.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the cool part. So like to nerd out in the technical aspects of it. Yeah, it's like while the jury's out on the rankings, and we're waiting for the new updated 2024 ranking factors and what's looking at. And we do this every year. A conglomerate of the biggest marketing agencies out there kind of pull their data together and look at the top ranking factors for things like Google Business Profile and SEO. And what's been consistent is having one that's optimized, getting reviews consistently. But the big thing that I think, and the cool thing about what we do here, is the nuances that are within. Now, while putting up a post of water damage restoration in Tampa might not say, okay, well, we're going to rank you number one for that because you put this post out there. But if you properly utilize that post, right, you syndicate that content by, in the update, this is just kind of like an ins and outs thing of posting, you link it to the page that's relative to the service and in the area of your website. What that's doing is it's giving you more authority in Google's eyes. It is providing you in a very, very valuable backlink of a Google property, naming what you do, where you do it, and also creating a roadmap to your website saying in Google's eyes that this company for this service or this query on Google has authority, and we're going to bump them up. So while a direct responses don't exist anymore when it comes to marketing, unless you got like somebody shaking somebody's hands and having them sign an agreement right there on the spot. It does offer you this visibility over time and building a portfolio of these posts. So they're really important to do outside of the nuances from a technical standpoint. The backlinks, like Nikki, you mentioned, it's really great to show off your company. We talk about building trust. Well, what better trust than showing a before and after of a burned down kitchen?
Yeah, no doubt.
No different than a Google review, right? Show off your Google reviews. But the business profile allows you to put these updates. They're really cool because you can use it for a multitude of reasons, right? You can link it to a blog that you put up and just like, hey, here's the latest article that we put in there. But again, boil it down to consistency. If you're going to do it, highly suggest you do, because you should. And it'll help you out with conversions and all that we just spoke about. But it's super easy to do. And you can do it right from your phone on your Google Maps app. Like, it's not like you're got to log in and take courses and stuff like that. And if you need help with it, we're here. Obviously, all of us are here, and this is what we do every day. But I have a ton of videos on what to do, what not to do. We're going to be making more this year. We're really having a strong push for content, more helpful content for people, because we have these people here like Nikki and JC and Yaz and some of the other key players here that have such a wealth of knowledge but more so they're in the trenches doing it, right? We have data to back up what direction we need to go. So it behooves you to listen to them. All right. And I guess like the last question I had is like, okay, so you found a Google business profile, but why is it important to optimize it? I think you've answered that ad nauseum, because if you want to be visible and I always boil down to a money thing, right? If you're spending money on something, you better get the best results you can. And if you're not optimizing your Google business profile, you're just dumping water in your gasoline of this fire you're trying to start in your visibility online. Is there anything else that I might have missed or we missed when it comes to the importance of optimization? Or like, I know you gave everybody a ninja hack, and we did too. We talked about it as linking all of your Google posts to a relevant page on your website. No different than if you're posting on Instagram or Facebook. Post content that's relative to a service, and hell, why not link it to your website, or even more specifically, the bucket of the service page that you have there? Is there anything that we've missed or that we want to just touch base on before we move on?
Just a couple key points. I know that the Google business profile posting might seem weird, and there is a lot of criteria. Like, for example, you can't put your phone number in the body of the content. So
Yes.
This has given me a great idea to give you guys a little bit of a tutorial on the Google business posting. So if you guys are interested, I will definitely give you some more information on that. But the most important thing to think is, this is a way, a lot of our time as business owners and entrepreneurs, a lot of our time is spent on thinking of ways that we can go out there and reach our customers. And by properly utilizing your Google business profile, it's a way to kind of turn the table a little bit and make it so that your customers know how to reach you. So optimize that content, make sure your phone number's right, make sure nobody's changed your name to stinkyfartplumbing.com. And
shout out
just
to stinkyfartplumbing.com. If that's your website URL, you need to call us because we want to work with you even for free, because that's an awesome name.
Yeah, I would 100% hire stinkyfartplumbing.com. So yeah, go out there. Don't be Stinky Fart Plumbing. Be whatever it is that you actually are. Show yourself, be authentic, and people will love you for it. And if they don't, then they're rude. Don't worry about them.
Thank you, Nikki. And that's what I say to everybody when it comes to you and JC and Yaz and Gladys and Aaron. If you don't like it, get out of here. And Nikki, speaking of get out of here, I'm going to boot you out of this webinar right now. Thank you so much. There's a lot more, and I can't wait to go into the webinar and have you start creating some content to give people some real things for the people that are DIY when their marketing goes. I can't wait to see the content you're going to push out there. Thanks again, but sorry, I got to kick you out of the meeting because it's time to move on. Thank you so much, Nikki. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. I hope you guys got a lot out of that Google business profile segment with Nikki. Again, if you have questions about this, head on over to our website. If you don't want to call us on the phone, you're sick of hearing us. I have a lot of resources out there on each one of these things. Follow us on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And again, for the streamers out there, the podcast consumers out there, we're on every streaming platform. So let's move on. Just to recap again, got to have a Google business profile, get them reviews, update it frequently, but more so make sure that it accurately depicts your company from a technical standpoint, meaning your name, address, phone number, your company description, and your service area. And we're going to move right along we're moving up that Google search legend to the next spot, which I alluded to earlier when I started talking about SEO, and we're talking about going to the grocery store for leads. We know that, whether it's Google business profile, your maps rankings, or your search engine optimization rankings, it does take months, right? In some cases, a lot longer, depending on where you're at. If you're a restorer in Dallas, Texas, and that's your territory, you've got a lot of competition, right? Or South Florida, you've got a lot of competition. So typically, that's one of 400 ranking factors, but that's a big one, right? If your competition is there, it's going to take you a little longer because everybody's doing the same thing in most cases. So what do we do when we're trying to grow that garden of leads and we're waiting and we're standing there and we're tilling the soil? Well, we're going to go to the grocery store because we got to eat. And that brings us to the very top section of a search engine, the pay-per-click, the Google Ads section, the Google Guarantee, however you want to call it. It is important. What's the difference? Real quick recap. We already saw on the graphic that the LSA pay-per-click is the first thing people see online. And hey, listen, Google's got to make money too. That's how they monetize their search. So they're going to have you there. It requires, though, constant investment. So if you think about it like a billboard, if you were going to pay to have a billboard put up somewhere, when you stop paying for that billboard, they're going to come tear it down and put somebody else up there. And so pay-per-click works kind of the same way, which is why we call it the grocery store. When you need leads, you go there, you get them, and you can turn it on and off at your discretion. They give you in most cases, if you're doing it right, you get a very immediate result. And whereas SEO and organic is free, right? You don't have to pay for an ad. You don't have to pay for those leads. It does take a long time to rank in most cases. SEO is constantly changing, so you can't set it and forget it. Just like a garden, you can't just throw your seeds in there and walk away and think you're going to come back to a bunch of corn. It doesn't work that way. But the cool thing about SEO is you're actually building a portfolio of authority over time in Google, and it does become a tangible asset having those higher rankings on search engines. So in general terms, in the big picture, SEO is a much more sustainable, much more cheap way to drive leads into your business, right? As frustrating and as how long it takes, I'm an impatient person. So SEO is a little bit of a frustrating thing. And, as soon as you hit your stride and you start ranking, all of a sudden an algorithm update happens and boom, you're off page one again. So it's this constant dance back and forth. So always remember that, organic search is evergreen. JC had a really great case study with one of our clients that in most cases, when it's storm season or cat season for whatever type of disaster you're around, that's when the Google ad budgets go through the roof. Companies from other territories are coming to your area to help people with their property damage from the storm. So they're spending a ton of money on Google ads. And we had a client that we were not running ads for, only doing SEO and Google Business Profile. They were ranked so well that during Milton, they didn't have to run a single ad. Think about the amount of money that saved them, tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes a week. You can spend if your infrastructure can handle that amount of work. So huge. And again, the foundation of your marketing. But let's talk about the grocery store a little bit. And again, I'm super excited. I'm trying to bring in the A team here. I'm bringing a squad. I've got another. JC kind of spilled the beans. We're going to be bringing in somebody really important and integral. And if you're a client of ours, you know her, you love her. If you don't, get out of here. And she's an expert in one of the channels when it comes to Google ads. And I mentioned before, I'm going to take a step back. With Google ads, the Google ad platform, the very first results, you've got two different options, right? You've got pay-per-click, and then you've got LSA, which is the Google guarantee. And I know it hasn't been as well known like last year and the year before, but it's probably very well known to everybody that's listening to this, the Google Guarantee LSA program or local service ads. What is pay-per-click? It's just what it says. You pay every time somebody clicks on your ad, you're going to pay a certain amount of money determined by a bidding process and everything that Google goes through. So it fluctuates up and down depending on a lot of different factors. So it's effective in most cases, like for storm chasers, right? So if you are in Tampa and you want to come down to West Palm Beach where we're at, or Fort Lauderdale or Miami, you can run Google ads in that area and start building up some work. It's going to be really expensive, but when it's done right, we've seen clients of ours pull in millions of dollars of work in only a couple of weeks. And once they pull that millions of dollars of work, they shut it down. But there are some limitations because it is a pay per click. It's very competitive. If not done properly, you can waste a ton of money. And I've heard horror stories of people spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in one day and not getting a single lead. So it's very important if you're going to be running pay-per-click, which in most cases is not the most effective in the restoration world. If you have the budget, great. It's another spot to be. It's very effective in the storm chase or if you're going outside of territory. But if you are going to utilize pay-per-click or you're currently engaged with an agency, there's a few things that you need to make sure that you have in place, like right off the bat. One is click C's. You want to make sure, because it's a pay-per-click, your competition can't go onto your ad and just click it and go to your website and delete it and go click it and spend 50, 100, 300, whatever the amount of can be per click. It can get really expensive. And what it does is just eat your whole budget up. And people do that. So there are some click fraud protections that you should be incorporated, or if your agency you're engaging with doesn't have that, like do it. Don't let them hide behind budgeting. Don't let them blame the budget. Just find out for yourself. Negative keywords is a big one. At Ironclad, I think we start with 1,000 negative keywords. And what negative keywords really are things that you don't want your ad to pop up for, right? So if you think about like a property damage restoration contractor, and you're getting those calls from tenants in an apartment, you don't want those calls. They're not decision makers, right? Somebody calling up like, I found mold in my bathroom. You're like, well, call your landlord. Well, guess what? That call just cost you $75. So negative keywords are very important. So we start with around 1,000, and as time goes on, because this is a very intimate process with our team, we add more and more to that as we get to know your business, right? So the last thing we want to do is make sure we're burning up your entire budget on stuff that you don't want to be ranked for and you don't want people calling you about, okay? So making sure that before you engage with an agency, or if you're currently engaged and things maybe not working that well, or even if they're working great, check into the negative keywords and really audit that list, because agencies only know so much, right? We put our list of 1,000 together just from experience, but every territory is different. Every company is different. So you got to make sure you have your handle on that, right? We're going to talk about LSA in a second, so we're not going to get into that too much. Have a separate number via call rail. Any kind of call tracking, I highly suggest it. In fact, we almost require it for our clients here because it really gives you a good way to differentiate the different channels where the leads are coming from. They're super cheap. Put a phone number for your Google Ads, put a phone number for LSA, phone number in your Google business profile, and a phone number on your website. And then you know when that call comes in and you get your report from us, if you're a client, we can tell you where those leads are coming from, and then you can help craft your marketing budget a little bit better for the future. You want to make sure you're sending the traffic for that click, whatever you're ranking for, to the specific landing page that you want the service in, right? So relevant to the post. If it's flood, hurricane, frozen pipe, whatever the case may be, make sure you have a really high converting, well-structured, fast loading landing page that's tied to that, okay? And constantly optimize it. Pay-per-click requires so much attention. Make sure you're on top of it, or make sure whoever's managing it is on top of that, okay? So that brings me to the next spot. The Google Guarantee program, it is run through Google Ads, but it's vastly different. And I really, really see a lot of benefits for our clients with the LSA program, but I want to bring on an expert. While I'm not in the trenches every day, my job here is to help you with content and drive this bus on this Ironclad restoration marketing. But as you've seen from the past team members we brought on, we've got some real experts in our team, right, in our back, and that really help drive the results for our clients. So today, I'm really excited to welcome Yaz to the webinar. She is our senior account manager. So if you are a client, that's who you're talking to. Hopefully you're talking to her. Make sure if she's trying to schedule a recap meeting, you're present for that. She's a violinist, a fish expert, and she is also our local service ad specialist. So she is in the trenches. Not only is she taking care of most of our clients, she's leading the whole entire account management team, but she's also one of the best LSA people out there. She has over 10 years of experience managing large-scale marketing projects. She's very proficient in operations for inside and outside. She has 20 years experience as a bilingual sales expert. She does speak a very fluent Spanish speaker. So we do have some clients out there that are down, especially in the Miami and Hialeah down here in South Florida, that really get a benefit from being able to communicate effectively. But Yaz is one of those multi-tools that you love to have on your team, the unicorn out there that just has experience and in SEO, Google Ads, Search Console, call tracking, social media, marketing in general. But what really makes Yaz unique here is her willingness to help and the genuine responsibility that she takes on for every single one of you out there that's a client of ours. So enough inflating all their heads out here. I want to bring Yaz on, and I pushed the wrong button. But Yaz, what's happening?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Where are you in the world? I know you're a traveling person between Colorado and South Florida. Are you in South Florida right now?
No, I'm in Colorado. So I'm a little bit after the blizzard, just melting down with everything. And I don't know if everybody saw social media, but I've been posting a couple of videos with the snow and whatnot. So yeah, if you follow us on social media, you might have seen me as well if I don't talk to you on a daily.
You stole my thunder. I was going to just make a joke about it. Of course I know where you are, because if you don't follow us on social media, you got to check out the latest video that Yaz just put together of freezing her butt off in the snow. If it gets like 55 degrees in South Florida, I'm like in winter clothes. So Yaz, thanks for coming on. I know, listen, out of everybody that's been here today, I'm really excited about this section because this has been like one of the most effective lead generation sources for us. It's also at the same time been a very frustrating channel to deal with, right? And I know that you've been from the genesis of this coming in as a channel that we thought about bringing on. You've been in it, and I'm really excited to have you teach people a little bit about LSA. So just like everybody else, I'm going to kind of give you the table. I'm going to pop in and interrupt you here and there, make a funny joke. But everybody really pay attention to this section because it's a doozy and it can make you a ton of money driving leads to your business.
Yes, absolutely. So like to reiterate exactly what you were saying at the beginning or a couple of minutes ago, if you do SEO and it's organic, it's going to take a minute. If you do the Google Ads, Google My Business, you are tied to those reviews and those posts and those updates. So it's going to take some time. If you go through Google Ads, you have to be very, very specific and very conscious about all the keywords, all the negative keywords. Everything that you just mentioned is very, very accurate. But at the end of the day, this is the most cost effective, like you mentioned, for our clients and the maximum ROI that we have found for most of everybody, whether if they are in Texas competing with really high expenditures or they're in New York or Las Vegas or Miami. So it doesn't really matter. Everything changes and varies throughout the states, but this is the first page that you're going to be, and it rotates all the time. So you might not see yourself on the first position, but you're always going to be in between the first and the third position, rotating through the day. So depending on the hours that they're looking for, they will find you absolutely every time.
And what's the difference between, I don't know if I touched on it or not, but walk people through the difference between LSA and pay-per-click and why, I guess the psychology of why it's probably been more effective.
Right. So there's a bunch of limitations when it comes to LSA so far. For example, you cannot do the pipe freezing, which is the SEO or the social media video that I just made. So for example, those kind of things specifically for season you cannot do. But when it comes to restoration, everything is already in place. So the difference in between those is the Google guarantee. So you might get the money back. You will only pay for those specific leads. You just have to follow through with everything. When it comes to pay-per-click and Google Ads, it's a constant battle with not just that keyword and how people search for different things in different states. They will not say the same thing if they're looking for mold remediation or mitigation or all these different words that they want to say. So we have to learn how the people are searching for you in these specific markets, even if it's in Espanol or if it's in English or in their own mindset language, how they want to interpret exactly what is happening in their flooding emergency disaster situation. So that changes a bunch. For LSA, it's just one keyword and it will always go to the same place, but it's just less competitive. But it could become more expensive. So we'll go through the budgets as well with this.
And I guess, just to boil all that down on the simplest form, if any of this, like we're going to get some technical stuff in here, but on the simplest way to look at it, pay-per-click is exactly what it says. You're paying per click. LSA is a pay-per-lead model. So if you're out there buying leads from 33 Mile or Inquiry Lead or whatever, LSA kind of works the same, except they guarantee the leads are going to be legitimate, which is huge because, and that's, I guess, why they're such a pain in the butt, and there's limitations on there because if Google's going to put their money where their mouth is, you're going to have to follow some rules here. So let's move on, and I'm going to slide this over here so you can talk about, as you mentioned, there is quite some limitations on this, but there is an approval process. Not anybody can just get on and run local service ads, correct?
Not everybody. We've seen definitely stop pointers through the process. So for example, if you already have your IICRC, if you already have your proof of insurance, which is minimum requirements for the state, that's phenomenal. You're already halfway through the process. But you have to go through the background check. So saying that you are not in any legal trouble, anything like that, and they will ask for specific personal information. But that's just to keep you protected. So people are very hesitant about doing that process, but it's just to keep you protected and for protecting your clients as well of who is going to take that job. They go through that extra length to keep you not just protected, but safe through the process of who's going to go into your home and who's going to remediate whatever you need to. Obviously, you have to have the reviews, and I have another more specific detail, but this is just to begin with. You at least have to have 3 Google reviews on your Google My Business tied to the LSA in order for you to get started. So if you go through those process, you will be good to go to begin with.
So let's back up for a second, because you just touched on something that, we all know it now, but yeah, as just mentioned, you got to have a Google business profile to run LSA right now, right? That used to not be the case. I believe that switched over in November of last year.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
so-
like I mentioned, I'm gonna say it a little bit further on what basically you had two choices before. You were doing all they send you a link, for example, local service ads / my business, and that's it. Or you can tie it to Google My Business. And from the beginning, I said, you know what, let's just do Google My Business, because at the end of the day, we want to see those reviews on your Google My Business. That's what people are going to look for, not the specific LSA link. So definitely they are actually taking it down on the 22nd officially. But as of right now, they are still having that. But those links and those reviews are going to disappear. So that's no good. That's no bueno. That's definitely something that they have to fight for. So they have to contact the client that created the review and then say, you know what, with this new link, which is my Google My Business, my official site, you have to either post it again or you have to move it over, and you cannot do it. They have to do it to keep it legit. So that's going to be a little bit of trouble.
Good luck. Well, I know you have a lot to say when it comes to LSA, but something that and I'm kind of move this around a little bit. I want to touch base on it because at the end of the day, people are going to listen to this. They're, some are going to really take this to heart. Some people, all they're waiting for, they're sifting for is the information that's pertinent to them. And one thing I think everybody can agree on is money is important, right? So when it comes to LSA, can you walk us a little bit through his graphics and kind of the costs that are involved? And I know everybody heard me talking about spending thousands of dollars on pay-per-click and a monthly thing, but listen, we all hear it. How much do we got to spend to be relevant and actually get leads into the business?
Oh, that's a tricky question because it always will depend on the season. It will depend on your state. It will depend on the specific time frames of the weather related, so to speak. So you can spend 2,000. The graphic in gray, which is the generic one, will show you, yes, on a monthly basis that you're spending on the seasons. If it's a rainy season in April, May, and then it goes up in July a little bit, and then it really goes higher up in October and September, because those are the seasons that we have seen restoration going through, not the mold, which is more steady, but the rainy season or the pipe freezing season, all these water related restorations that we are seeing. Now, when it comes to specific budget, we see two different graphics. Now, the first one, it goes tied together. So if it's high season, it will go the budget up. If it's low season, it will go the budget down. So you can spend, that graphic is in between $400 and $13,000. Depending on how much you want to spend. You can also, same as Google Ads, you can pause the campaigns, you can turn it back on, you can, if it's too much for you, you got 120 leads and you are overwhelmed, you can absolutely pause it and then turn it back on. And it doesn't take like Google Ads that will learning process, which takes about, it used to take 48 hours, now it takes like 10 days. So it's crazy. Now this one is more dynamic and more interactive. As long as you are following through with the responsiveness, you should be fine. And then the third, which is really low on the blue, which is the lead charged against the really high orange, which is the cost per lead. So for example, if you got 1 lead, 2 leads, and then woof, it went really high up, it was because of your competitors. There were so many competitors at some point that created that bump into the cost per lead. So once you created those, let's say $2,000 on a monthly basis, you will spend those $2,000 through the year because your competitors are keeping you up there. So depending, like I said, on the season for the first graphic, on the competitors on the second graphic, or just generic, depending on just season of the weather, that's the third graphic. So that's why it's a tricky question, because it will depend on the state, on the searches, on the season, on your competitors and so forth. So it's a tricky question, but it's very, very fun to watch and very motivating for clients to keep that interaction going. So if your competitors are keeping you up there and you set it and forget it, you're never going to show up. You have to keep on having update all these elements through the LSA. So that's very interesting.
And when you talk about showing up, you're talking about ranking, because the LSA is actually, there's a ranking factor tied into your local service ads. And so you have to be cognizant of where the budget's at, what the cost per lead is going to for each respective thing, and make sure that your budget, and just because you set your budget at $6,000 a month, it doesn't mean you're going to eat that budget up. And that's the cool part about LSA, right? Whereas pay-per-click, you set it at $6,000, it's probably going to get used up, and you're probably not going to get a whole lot out of it. Versus LSA, where you set a $6,000, you can set a $50,000 budget. You may spend $3,000. You may spend $2,000 in 1 month. And I guess it's really relative to seasonalities, the volume of search that's going out there, and then your ranking factors, which much like SEO and Google Business Profile, LSA has ranking factors involved. Because again, Google's putting their money where their mouth is. They'll give you your money back, but it's not legitimate. Is there anything else on the budget that you want to touch base on before we go over to
it goes tied to the next one, so we can move over.
I'll slide into the next one.
Yes. So, yes, you set it up for $10,000. Well, they will say, no, you have to be more realistic. Okay, I want to spend $6,000. Okay, that makes more sense. I want to spend $3,000. That's respectable. That's totally fine. However, in order for you to keep that up, you have to have that responsiveness. You have to upload new pictures, new jobs. If you have those calls, if you have those messages coming in, immediately answer, immediately follow through, immediately go to the app. That's why I did that. But the app went away on the 6th of January. So now you have to go on the computer. Now, if you're not going to do it on a daily basis or having someone in the office to do it all the time, at least on a weekly basis, you're supposed to have that. The tie to Google My Business Profile, the calls and the messages, responsiveness. If you are the season change and you are not having any water or rain coming in, but you know that mold is going to be predominant at that time, then you change the jobs. If you want to have another construction or commercial throughout the restoration, then you add that service. Every time you do some movement, it's going to help you show up better and faster into the first position. Obviously, you're going to be on the first page because you're paying for LSA, but you're going to be in the first position because of that responsiveness. Now,
what does the responsiveness look like? Is there a time, like, I know what I remember from a little while ago. And I guess what is the responsiveness out there for people that are running this to see how important it is?
Oh, it's critical. Every single call has to be answered. Every single message has to be responded to.
So it's just like running your business. If you're not answering the phone, you're not responding to messages, you're not going to get business. But from the terms of LSA, they're just not going to display your ads, correct? Or they're just handing that lead down to the next person. Okay. Exactly.
If that 3 numbers are rotating all the time on the first page of Google and you're not doing any of them, then why will they show you? Right. So that's a responsibility. That's a feedback you have to have all the time. Now, once you follow through with that call and it becomes a lead, now what do you do next? You have to rate it. On the top bottom of that call, it says, rate this lead, either if it's a good or a bad. If it's a bad, you can get credited. So you might get that money back. Even if it's not a conversion, but it was a lead, you might not get that money back, but it was a lead that you don't do, something that you do not offer, a service that you do not comply with, then you can get that money back. But as long as you rate it, you will get that credit. And if it's archived and completed and so forth, phenomenal. It's going to go to the second one and the most important one, the reviews. So if you follow through with that one, you get the monthly, fantastic. At the end of your job that you've completed with that client, you go back to the LSA and you say, okay, now let's ask for that review. And that review is going to pump you up, not just because LSA and the responsiveness, but also it's going to be tied to Google My Business and it's help you out on the SEO and everything, on all the other 4 levels that you can be shown on the first page of Google. And I say Google My pay-per-click, Google My Business, and SEO. So it's going to help throughout everything if you do that last step on the LSA. That's why it's critical to do it at least once a week for the rating and the reviews, but every single call and message for the responsiveness of LSA.
Yeah, that's a lot of really good information out there. So just to recap, like when you're running LSA, you've got to be responsive. No different than you're running your business. That should be like bar none. But sounds like it's something that's an area of contention because people aren't that responsive. I remember what I was going to say is I guess that used to be a thing that it would say is if you don't respond to a message or a call within 15 minutes, it's gone, right? So I guess it's even gone beyond that, and this is going to evolve. So again, it's good practice in owning a business to respond to people when you're spending money on leads. Make sure you rate those leads that come in like as soon as possible. And I know, yeah, as you said, at least once a week, but like, look, if you're spending money on this, you should be checking this a lot more often, right? Or if you're paying somebody to manage it, this is something if you're going to get into bed with an agency or you do it yourself, you've got to really understand all this stuff that Yaz has talked about, how important it is for you to be present in this process. If you're not going to get anything out of it. And guess what? You're going to badmouth whoever it is that's running your stuff because it's not working, right? No different than Yaz as an account manager going over monthly reviews with clients. It's super important, guys. If you're paying a marketing agency and they should be sending you analytics and you should be scheduling a minimum monthly review call, you got to be there. The LSA is great. And if you want Google to put their money where their mouth is, you've got to be responsive and you've got to utilize this properly. So again, rate the lead that comes in, answer it right away, do a good job and get a review because they're all going to be tied together. And again, if you haven't noticed a pattern, all of these channels work within each other. So a great review from a Google guarantee is going to just trickle down into all your other rankings and everywhere else that you're trying and you're spending money for. Yaz, is there anything else that we might have not gone over? Well, I know there's probably millions of things we haven't gone over with LSA, but for the sake of time and for the sake of content, I know we're going to be running an LSA roundtable again. We did one previously with Yaz and JC. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out on the Restoration Rundown podcast or the Ironclad Restoration Marketing's YouTube page. And Yaz went in through a lot of that stuff. But since we aired that, there's been a handful of other changes that's happened out there, Yaz. It's kind of a lot to keep up with. So at the minimum, and if you have any questions about LSA, reach out to us. Go to ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. Again, shameless plug. Follow us on social media and any streaming services. Yaz, did we leave anything out that you want to touch base on that people can take away from this and put it into action right away?
Couple of things. Number one, the checklist that we have on our website is going to help you exponentially better. So that way you can actually see everything that you went through. And the second one is the location. So before it used to be zip codes, it used to be cities. Now you can do all the way to counties. And it has been working a lot. Even if you are, because the cities are within your business profile location, you can actually on LSA do some other locations when it comes to counties or cities. So test that out. It really helps a lot just to expand your audience. So that will definitely trigger something else for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yaz, for your time. I know you've probably got about 900 missed calls in this last 20 minutes that you've got in there. So I'll let you get back out to it. And just like JC and Nikki, I'm kicking your butt out of the webinar. Thank you for all your input. We'll be talking to you soon. See ya.
Thank you.
All right, guys, big round of applause for the Ironclad team. Unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me for the rest of this webinar. We're about a little over 2 hours in. This is much longer than we normally do, but all of this information is super important for you guys to understand for this year moving forward. And just remember, when it comes to LSA and pay-per-click, there's a lot of testing that goes in, right? You've got to learn how things are going to work for each respective client. So be careful out there when you're running them. Utilize resources out there. They're free. You can really get a lot of insight into what you should be doing here when it comes to running Google Ads for your business. Now, I want to recap the last 3 sections here real quick. If you're a skimmer or you listen to things on 2-speed like me when it comes to podcasts, when you want to dominate on Google, one, you got to have a website that's optimized with keyword-rich content to rank well on the organic section of Google. And you build that foundation with search engine optimization, SEO. Remember, the SEO does take months and months to rank you well, especially for the high competitive keywords in a high competitive market. So you're going to utilize the grocery store while your garden's growing. Go implement some pay-per-click and LSA. Right now, as you might not have noticed, LSA has been the most effective for our clients in the last couple of years that we've been running them. So you got to make sure that you're at the minimum running those LSA ads for your people. And again, you want to take over the entire first page of Google. You need to make sure that you have all of that real estate on Google, organic, ads, and your Google Maps section, which is tied to the Google business profile. Again, you see YouTube on this slide if you're watching it. I'm going to talk about video in a minute, but YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world as AI, as content, as Google's looking for helpful content keep a very sharp mind on starting to create some video content. Something we're going to be rolling out here in 2025 for Ironclad Restoration Marketing. I'm announcing it right now as our 100th episode. We are going to be offering some video marketing services for our clients because it is super important. One, for rankings and things like that, but again, for conversions and to build that trust for your target clients. Video is one of the most important channels that you're going to be wanting to look out for your business. Okay. So we're going to move right along on the webinar. Hope you guys are still with me. If you need to take a big yawn, you can pause it. And we're going to talk about everybody's best friend, social media. Now, if you've listened to me in the past, you know my views on social. As an agency, we do not manage social media accounts. We did in the past. We've learned a lot from it. We're very proficient in it. We manage social media for ourselves. So I firmly believe that it's very important. But at the same time, and like a lot of these other marketing modalities, if you don't have your other ducks in a row and you're super focused on social media, you are going to be vastly disappointed because of the simple fact that most people are not going on a social media platform to search out a home services business. What social media is to me is a branding play. It's a very important aspect of your business brand, okay? So claim your Facebooks, claim your TikTok, claim your Instagram, your Twitter, Pinterest, anything that's relative to your business. I would get them all because at the end of the day, they're tangible branded assets that one can be used for top of mind referral mentality. So having Facebook posts, running Facebook ads, Instagram, TikTok videos, all that's great to show off your company brand. But are people going onto these platforms and looking for specific job services? If my house floods, most likely I'm not going to go on Facebook or TikTok and look at it. But if I go on Google and I find so-and-so company, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I've seen that ad. I've seen that company. They're posting all the time. They're sponsored my kids' baseball team last year. I know who those guys are. I can trust them. That's a great spot for social media. All right. So why we don't run it is agencies become a bottleneck for social, right? To effectively have a well-done social media account for your restoration business, it takes a lot of work, right? Posting on social media is the easiest part about social media, but it's social for a reason because it's a two-way street. Posting and engagement and content are huge. If you are paying an agency to manage your social media, let's just pick Instagram, right? As a business owner, you're going to have to provide them with content, right? Pictures of your jobs. They're not, unless you're spending a shit ton of money, they're not going to come fly to your location and take pictures every single day of all the work you're doing and post it online. No. You've got to send them content. You've got to give them context to that content, right? Most marketing agencies out there are generalists. They don't understand your industry. You can send them a picture of a broken sump pump in the basement that's flooded everywhere. They're not going to know what the hell that is. If they live in South Florida, we don't have basements. So take that into mind. So you also you're going to have to provide them the picture. You're going to have to provide them the context. Then they're just going to copy and paste what you sent and put it online. They're not going to answer comments. They're not going to build an audience in most cases, unless, again, money talks. So you can get people and pay people to do anything. So unless you have an in-house team, I strongly suggest kind of taking that on yourself. Much like posting on your Google business profile, things like that. You can do that all from your phone in most cases, from different apps and whatnot. So you just, what ends up happening is, given the fact that you need to give them pictures and context, most business owners aren't going to be consistent with that. So think about it like that. So you're going to end up becoming the thing that makes the social media not work versus just bringing it in-house, having a process where somebody in your office, that's their responsibility, 3 times a week, post on every one of the platforms and utilize it. So just my little rant is over about that. But again, we have a lot of experience running it. We've considered bringing it back in as a service that we're going to run, but we want to make sure that it's going to be effective for our clients. We want to make sure we have those other ducks in a row before we move on to something else. Because if you don't have a strong presence on a search engine and you think social media is going to be the thing that runs your business to where it needs to get leads, you're going to be very disappointed. Now, carpet cleaning companies run social media ads. Hurricane comes, run a Facebook ad. We see there's a lot of benefit there. I'm not saying it's not there, but as far as spending money and the pantheon of all the things you need to be doing, don't waste your money. Don't be the bottleneck. But if you are going to post and you have a good process in place, here's a few things that you want to post. Make sure you're posting things that are relative to the types of jobs that you want to get, right? Where you can show off before and afters. You can build that social proof that Nikki talked about when it comes to your Google business profile and putting these updates in there. Social media is a great place for that, right? People are scrolling. It's so hard to cut through the noise. your business is boring to most people. Like, I'm not going to pick this up in the middle of a conference and just start searching through, my Facebook feed and stopping at like a before and after of a frozen pipe. Like, not going to happen. But you're building this equity here of content that's consumable, that just creates this omnipresent visibility for your business. Okay. Answer frequently asked questions. Use video. Get your phone out. You always have them out. Videotape yourself talking about your company and how you can be a service to the community. Don't worry about selling. Remember, people aren't going on Facebook to buy your stuff, right? You're not selling a gadget. You're not selling a cool backpack you can put your puppies in and go on a hike. Like, you're not doing any of that. You're a home service business. So post things that are relative to the stuff you want to get ranked for, answer questions, help people. Teach people what it looks like when they find mold, what they're supposed to do, and reference your website. Send them back to that hub that we talked about in the beginning, which is your website. All right. And running ads, like I told you before, is effective, right? In certain circumstances. So there's a lot of ins and outs and nuances with social media, but in general terms, it's very important. But you should be doing it yourself until you get competent with it and at least build some sort of schedule and calendar and get into a rhythm. And then you can think about bringing on third party or somebody else in there. And if you just don't care what it shows, then let an agency get paid $1,000 a month to post up National Waffle Day. That's your money. I would rather see that money go into an LSA program or spending a little more money on SEO to get you real results. All right. And one big thing is, and I used to see this quite a bit when we were doing the social media stuff, is people would want to buy followers. You get into Facebook, some of these Facebook groups that aren't well policed, like Restoration Rebels is super well policed. A few of the other ones are policed, so they don't allow this kind of stuff to happen, which is great because I feel like it's misleading. But never, ever, ever buy social media followers. It's a waste of money. It's not going to get you anything except for, hey, look, I've got this many followers. But then people are going to look at your post and see that you have 1 like or no likes. Then when you run ads on Facebook, you're running ads to a bunch of fake accounts. Think about it. Don't buy followers. I don't know. It's been years and years since I've seen any of this coming out. So I don't even know how relevant it is anymore. Same thing goes for people that get into these groups and talk about Google business reviews. Don't buy reviews. Don't buy followers. Don't do anything that is trying to circumvent Google's best practices, because you're going to get hammered for it eventually. I promise. All right. That's enough of the spiel on social media. Let's move on to something that is very important to me. A little background. I cut my teeth in marketing with video. Video is one of my favorite things to do. If you haven't noticed, I like speaking on camera. I full-heartedly believe how important video is, but also how much more important it's going to become when it comes to digital marketing. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this. And just remember, you always want to leverage video content. If you have a website and you're a restoration contractor, at the minimum, you should have a welcome video to your company and authentic. Pull your phone out. Have your secretary or one of your techs hold their phone out and record you. Hello, my name is so-and-so from so-and-so Restoration. We're family owned and operated for 25 years. We're located in this area. We serve the greater XYZ area. Please, thank you for checking us out. Call us today. And that's on the forefront of your website. People are going to consume that content much better. Now you have something that builds trust on your website. It lets people get to know your company a little bit, lets them to know that you're veteran owned and operated, or all those USPs that we talked about. Video is a great place to put them. And that's social media content that you can share and you can run an ad to when it is frozen pipe season, and you can send a video out about how you guys are different. YouTube is the second largest search engine. So the fact that you're not leveraging that is probably not good, and it's to your detriment. All right. And when it comes to video content, again, don't ask for the sale. This is what the purpose of it is to create helpful content to help the people in your community that you serve remediate their property damage or whatever type of service you offer. If you're listening to this and you're not a restorer, the same principle applies to any home service business. All right. You can build case studies. You can film a job right when you go in from step 1 of shaking a hand. Think reality show. Shaking a hand, tearing out the drywall, remediating the mold, scrubbing the air, putting the stuff back, shaking the hand afterwards, and the people super elated, and let them give you a video testimonial. Think about how powerful something like that would be for your business, for converting eyeballs into sales. Nikki mentioned the posting. Nikki mentioned reviews. All of those things are about conversions. JC mentioned reviews. JC mentioned, and I mentioned the USPs on your website and what makes you different. What a great thing to have is the video testimony of your company. You can talk about how great you are until you're blue in the face. When you have somebody else do it, that's much more powerful. Okay. So you should be doing videos. I think a good rule of thumb is make a video for a general welcome to your website and create a video for each one of your services. Why not? Teach them what it's like, what to do when they have water damage. Make multiple videos. You can take those videos and do quite a bit with them. All right. And we're going to talk about that in this next section once we're done with the content. All right. So definitely think video is a good idea. We're going to be shooting video for our clients. We're going to be traveling. We're putting together a whole plan right now. It's in its creation mode right now. We want to make sure it's going to be the most effective for you out there because we full-heartedly believe how important it is. And I can't wait to launch this because it's one of my favorite things to do. Next, email marketing. One of the most old school tactics since email's been around is marketing via email, right? We're just going to hit on this real quick because it does have a big place in a restoration world. You should be engaging with your consumers, your past clients, because that's how you get referrals. That's how you get, sometimes you get reviews. That's how you can share news. A lot of other home service businesses like carpet cleaning could share coupons and things like that. So there is a lot of benefit there with email marketing. Again, if we're stacking up the importance of things that you should be doing to get leads in, email's probably, on the lower end of it, because if you're not healthy on visibility on a search engine and you're emailing, like, who are you emailing, right? So, but you should be building an email list, because you can run Facebook ads using the email list, and you could do a lot with a list of emails. Don't scrape them. Don't buy lists. That's a waste of money. There's a very intensive process that's involved in cleaning emails up, so you're not becoming a spam person. If you do get flagged as spam, what it's called is they're blacklisting your IP or your domain, which would be awful. And that means you're not going to rank on a search engine, and that means nobody's going to find you. When you get that domain blacklisted for spam, you're gone. Like, you're starting over. It's very hard. There's certain authorities out there that run spam scores, and you can check your own domain for that. So if you are running email marketing, let's do it organically. Build a list off real customers. Part of the onboard or offboard process is you ask them for your email, because you can send them an email with the QR code Nikki mentioned to get a review. Even on the simplest ways, that's one email that they get. Like us, we send an email out every single day to our clients, right? It's our social post. It's whatever we've done, whatever we feel is relevant that we think that we can teach somebody something through an email. We send it. We never are sending an email like, hey, sign up for our services. In most cases, people have signed up to our email list because they want to learn something, not because they want to be sold to. It's a given. Like, we do this as a service, and you know that. And if you can't handle it yourself, give us a call. MailChimp, if you're looking for a platform, MailChimp's great. When I made this slide, I think they gave you up to 1,000 monthly email sends. I remember the number of 2,500. Either way, that's a lot of emails to send out in a month, but it's free. They have a free version of it. It embeds right into your website. You can start building your newsletter list, and you can market to that, right? You can market to that email list if they're past customers, and it's a great way for referral or top of mind mentality. Like, let's say my neighbor has a loss, right? And I've had a loss before, and I've dealt with so-and-so company. I might forget that company, but if I have emails that are coming in that I'm okay watching or getting and not flagging as or unsubscribing, I'm going to refer that person out to you. Frequency wise, once a month is fine, unless there's like a major event like cat season coming up or there's a disaster in the area. You can go out and really use it as an as needed basis. And content wise, keep it super simple, right? Not more than 2 to 3 sentences. Keep it graphic. Make sure you link that email to something, to your website, to a landing page, to whatever the purpose of the email is. Bring it somewhere else so they can just get a glance at it. Like, oh, that's interesting. Let's click that. Don't be invasive when it comes to email marketing. All right. That's all the time I'm going to spend on email marketing, because I want to come to a more important, to me, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. We're talking about creating all of this content, videos, blog posts, social media posts, just taking photos and videos in general. What are you going to do with it? Well, I know because we do this every day. If I put myself in the shoes of somebody that's in a home services business, or I put myself in the shoes of me and my construction company, you don't got a lot of time to do stuff, right? So if I'm going to take 20 minutes and I'm going to make like 5 videos and teach people how to navigate a water loss, how my processes work, how you can tell if mold is dangerous, or maybe what causes mold. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to spend all this time to make this content or create a graphic or whatever type of content. Let's make it work for you. Right? Let's make math work for you. Never was that great at math, but I figured out a way to make 1 = 5. So one piece of content syndicated across all of your digital platforms here on the Omnipresent chart is going to go a lot further, right? So if you've taken 10 minutes to make a video about your company, that needs to go up as a blog. It needs to go on your social media, every one of your social media accounts. It needs to go up on your YouTube. It needs to go up on LinkedIn if it's relevant to your company. definitely needs to be on your website, and it will be because of the blog, but you also need to find more room to put that and put it up on your Google business profile. Whatever type of content it is, why not? Syndicate it. You can take a video and get a free app and transcribe that thing into a blog and embed it onto your website. Put the keywords in there that you need, link it properly internally, externally from your website, and man, you have created 5 or 10 pieces of content out of one content. So just like we're going to do with this webinar, we're going to cut this up into just bite-sized pieces that you can consume. We're going to syndicate it. It's going to go out in an email blast. It's going to go on our social media profile. It's going to go everywhere, because why not, right? If we're trying to be omnipresent and your brand wants to be everywhere, then you should squeeze as much juice out of that lemon as humanly possible by syndicating your content. Now, as we start to wrap this up, a very important area is tracking and measuring your results. Every one of myself, JC, Yaz, Nikki has all talked about monitoring data, right? There is no such thing as direct response type of marketing, outside of some very outliers. In general terms, what you measure is going to improve, right? If you hire an agency to come on and do SEO for you and you're just like, whatever, I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not getting on the phone with Yaz. I'm too busy this month to go get my recap. My phone's ringing. It's fine. But what happens when it doesn't ring? Then you're in crisis mode again. Then you're calling Yaz and you're not probably being very nice. When the reality is if you've been present in these marketing and you've been tracking results, you are already going to be ahead of, like our team is already ahead of most problems before they even come across your table. You're already going to be there, right? So at the minimum for yourself, you should implement call tracking. Like I mentioned, we almost require it to be a client of ours because it's so important in divulging where your money is being spent and if it's actually making you any money. And we started doing it because we had clients that no matter how many phone calls we knew they were getting, they would say it's not working. So let's cut that out. Let's not hide away. And you can't hide away from a call tracking report. We like to use CallRail. It's very easy. It's very cheap. And it gives you just another option out there to kind of figure out and craft your marketing budget. I mentioned before, you should have a separate phone number for all the different channels. You don't have to do that, but it's a good idea. It's not much money. And you can track and process where all these calls are coming from, right? You should have access to your Google Analytics. Part of any marketing agency that's worth their salt, they should be reviewing your monthly analytics via Google Analytics every month. But the beautiful thing about being a present business owner is with access to your Google Analytics, you can watch this in real time. You're able to see how many people visited your website. You're able to see things like a bounce rate, which are the percentage of people that don't look past page 1. You're able to see how long they're spending on your website. So you can look at these conversion metrics and really make educated decisions on making changes to either your strategy or the aesthetics of your website to help increase those conversion numbers. Remember, traffic costs money. Conversions are free. Google Analytics is a great tool to kind of gut check you and do a health check on what things are, what is happening with your business, okay? And you should be monitoring this frequently. When I, had more time, I was always watching Google Analytics and just obsessing over it. I don't say do that, but you should at least be competent and understand what it means. Your agency should be going over this stuff and what it means. Hide away from the agencies that are like, oh, here's your top 3 keywords and look at the movement. No. You want to look at an overall portfolio of what's going on, not just keywords. Keywords is just an indicator that things are moving in the right direction. So, engage your agency about what you should be looking for. Educate yourself as to what you should be looking for. You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck, and you're going to probably be a lot more happy with the agency that you're using. Okay. Now, hate to do it, but Skynet is real. AI seems to be taking over every single corner of this entire world. And what does that mean for the future of marketing? Well, I'm pretty sure that it hasn't become sentient yet, and it's going to take over with Terminators and stuff like that. But if that does, we've got multiple Terminator movies to kind of understand how we're going to navigate that. We can talk to Arnold Schwarzenegger right now still, and he can teach us how to navigate through the Terminators that are going to be coming here. But for the purposes of marketing, we are going to be rolling out an AI episode here pretty soon. Nikki is going to be at the forefront of that. I don't know if she knows that or not, but I'm giving all kinds of surprises here on our 100th episode. AI is a great tool. All right. It's unbelievable what it can do for your business, but you can use it for social media posting, content generation, video production. I mean, we've played around with some pretty funny things when it comes to video, but you got to make sure that you're not just allowing AI to dictate the terms of your brand. One, there's tools that Google uses to look for AI content. And if they don't have it very robust, trust me, they're working as hard as they can to mitigate that. So you have to make sure that it's out of your voice. I think AI is a great tool to build you a framework to answer questions. But when it comes to content writing, you've got to speak in your own voice. You have to come up with helpful, relevant content to your business. And unless you want to spend a ton of time training an AI bot to do that stuff, you need to be doing this yourself. So there is a lot. So at the end of the day, you don't want to use AI as a crutch to circumvent processes or like, well, shit, my SEO company, that's all they do is put blogs up. I'm just going to do that with AI. You're not going to be happy with the results. Eventually, the best practices Google puts out there, their guidelines for certain things. If you try to circumvent that in any way, you're going to get nailed eventually. Right? So you always have to be careful of the shiny new object. Stick to the basics. Make sure you have those ducks in a row and don't lean on it. And by God, watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of the best movies ever created. Soundtrack alone is worth watching it. That's enough of my spiel about AI. And that's kind of the end of this webinar. I want to thank you guys. We went quite a bit longer than I wanted to, but I think that there was a lot of great information out there. I'm super thankful for my team for coming on and helping me out a little bit. I want to hear from you guys. Also, so if there's anything that stuck out at you, anything that we might have missed that you need to learn about, drop a comment anywhere that you're watching this, shoot us an email, give us a call. I want to hear from you. But let's recap. One of the most important things you need to be doing for your business right now is identifying who it is you want to sell to. Once you figure that out, you need to craft the message, put that messaging onto your website and all of your digital marketing channels. All right. Implement SEO, pay-per-click, Google Business Profile Management right away. If I was going to start a restoration company right now, that's what I would be doing, and I would win no matter where I was. Social media, great tool for top of mind referral mentality type of leads. Will not directly, in most cases, get you work in the restoration world. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you are omnipresent, meaning you need to have your brand visible anywhere. You can call it multi-channel marketing. You can't call it omni-channel. I like omni-channel just because it's more, all of your channels are kind of pointed in the same direction, especially when we're talking about syndication. One piece of content is going to go everywhere. So it's not like multi-channel where you've got different types of content out there everywhere, but as an omni-channel portfolio, you're going to end up multi-channel anyways. But just make sure you're not disjointed in that case. And again, if you need any help at all, here's some ways it's up on the screen to get a hold of us. If you're listening to this, simply just go to ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. I would love it if you would subscribe to our channels, follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, check out the Restoration Rundown podcast on any place that streams podcasts. We're there. I would love to hear feedback from you. It really helps us help our this industry out because that's what we're out here to do. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up the 2025 No BS Internet Marketing Plan for you. I hope you got a lot out of this webinar. If you have any questions, like I said before, please feel free to reach out. I'm super excited about the future of Ironclad Restoration Marketing here. I'm very excited to be bringing you guys content that's going to help you change the game and get you on the right track to getting the leads you need for your business. Until next time, we'll talk to you then.